Unruly. Can I get the breakdown? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Unruly ain't no joke. Murphy Holmes said, how you wanna cut? Murphy Holmes said,
it's your boy JS1 Tha Supplier, VVCRadio.com, Aries Lounge, one-on-one conversations. And today of all days, of blessed days, I am honored and humbled to have, when they use the word legend, when you use the word mogul, when you use the word just like, when you talk about gifted individuals who have provided so much for their hometown. We have Scottie B in the building, legend and boss. Thank you for spending the time with me.
Blessed individual.
Yes, you are super blessed. And I know
you're blessed.
I'm blessed because you're here, but you are a blessed man.
I know you're blessed.
Every
and
day.
Accept them.
Exactly. Shoot, I accept all of mine. I'm a fly dude on a fly show. So, first of all, how are you feeling today?
I'm good, bro. How about yourself?
I can't complain. I'm having a great day. Great day. I have been very, very excited about this interview for quite some time, and I'm happy that and I'm so appreciative that you granted me the opportunity and the time. You know what I mean? This is definitely going to be, to me, I'm excited. Like, this is a class where I'm getting to learn. Because you got great history. You've been mentioned in a bunch of our different podcasts, and it's going to be beautiful to see how the tapestry comes together. So, number one, first question. Where were you born?
Baltimore.
All right. What side of town were you born?
Well, there's West and East and Park Heights. And
yes, sir.
Park Heights is, people from Park Heights don't say West.
Why is that?
They just don't, because anything past the railroad tracks is cross track.
That's true. That's a fact. That's a whole different mindset from a different time period. You bringing up some deep stuff. Okay, so you're a Park Heights kid.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, so when you were a kid, before you could touch the radio, because when we was kids, you got to listen to whatever your parents are listening to. What was being played in the house predominantly?
Well, my parents was a lot older than me, right? Well, of course, I was born, but my dad had me at 56.
Gotcha.
And my mother was 36, so they were a part of each other. They had a distance. But this is the early 70s, so I just remember like the Jackson 5. My dad was he liked like Ella Fitzgerald. Like I remember like in his little record thing holder, it was a lot of Ella Fitzgerald albums. He liked that scatty jazz stuff.
Right.
And he was a singer. And he used to sing, would go, what they say about him is, who knows if it's true. My dad used to tell some stories. He would say whatever, right? But like when the Rat Pack would come to Baltimore, because he was a singer, they knew him. Wow. So when they wanted, like when Sammy Davis and like Frank Sinatra and right. Jerry Lewis was the one he was closest to, supposedly. This is all story, right?
Right.
Who knows? They would come to Baltimore and, their handlers would want them to go to, white spots.
Of course.
My father used to hang down the avenue. And they knew that. So they wanted my dad to take them down Pennsylvania Avenue to them clubs down there because he always had an in.
And there were all a bunch of jazz clubs down there in that time. And they said that this was nationally known. Like Pennsylvania Avenue was known to have like some of the biggest jazz musicians in the world would be there on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Deep, super deep.
He used to hang in a lot of pool halls and stuff, and he was a street cat. So like a lot of dudes that they make them videos about in Baltimore that are older. My father knew, he used to be with them because they all used to shoot pool.
Got you. So as you grew up and you were able to get your own music and like, you get your first little bit of money and you want to get a piece of vinyl or a tape, what was the first thing you bought?
It probably was a Jackson 5 record, a ABC 45 or something. It was stuff like that.
That's deep.
And like a lot, so maybe I was born in 68 when I was like 10, 9, whatever, like disco stuff was big. So it was a lot of that kind of stuff, really.
So when you're coming up, right, and because I feel like
I remember Strawberry Letter 23 when I was really young. being my favorite record.
Okay. Yo,
When it was out, not, later, as when it was a Diggers thing. I mean,
right.
yeah, I just remember that song being big.
So like in that time period, and it's such a huge shift in the sound in that time period, because as the Jackson 5 were growing up, and like you were saying, disco music is coming in, and disco music kind of disrupts the whole industry, because we start moving away from like not doo-wop, but like a slower R&B into this really fast paced club sound. Like, are you swept away in that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, meaning that does it become like a thing where it's like everything everybody is about is just disco?
Oh, for sure. I mean, when like I didn't know anything. Like when people talk about, say, Rod Stewart made a disco song.
Right.
Well, I didn't know who Rod Stewart was. I knew the song, so I didn't know that was a big deal. Like Rod Stewart made a disco song.
Got you.
or the Rolling Stones. I didn't know nothing about that. So,
Right.
and they made one. And I didn't know that it was so deep that really everybody became a disco artist. But it was almost like it wasn't disco music. It was the music.
Right.
Because it was everywhere. I mean, everything, every radio station didn't matter. Of course, some stations, back in the day, it wasn't so much, separation of how you categorize music. Mm-hmm. But certain stations played certain stuff but it was all disco. And, at that time, of course, the nightclubs became a big thing.
Right.
And the DJ in the nightclubs became a big thing.
Because you didn't need a live band anymore. You had a discotheque that could come in. I mean, a DJ that could come in and get the transition going. So back when we talking about in that 70s time period, when did you start stepping into the clubs? Was it the late 70s, early 80s?
Early 80s.
Early 80s. So the equipment. Tell me about the DJ equipment at that time period. Is it very basic, meaning that you've got your, I forgot what you call it. Yeah,
because it wasn't for sale. Like, it wasn't like commercial,
Right.
I mean, I guess that was specialty stuff. Mm-hmm. So I remember the first turntables I got, one of them was a Technique. It was the lowest one. Mm-hmm. One of them wasn't even the size of a record. It was this big. One of them was my dad's joint that you stacked right. You couldn't even, and I had a mixer, but you couldn't hook. Some of the stuff wasn't even hooked to mixer. It didn't have RCA cords, so you had to play stuff, volume. It was just crazy. But I had, of course, I didn't just invent this in my head. There were people doing this. You know what I mean? But I like what we call DJing wasn't. It was an evolving thing.
Right.
I remember the first time I went with my dad to Luskins on Park Heights, and I can't. Was it Oakley or whatever street? It was the one after Garrison. The dude said, "Why you wanna turn the record backwards?" And I said, "Nah, not backwards, scratching." Like he was like, "I DJ in Hammer Jacks or something. And we don't do that." I said, "Because y'all don't do what we do.
Right.
You're not trying to do the same thing." And I remember my dad saying, "Why did I want to play two records at the same time?" And he liked the music. He didn't understand the craft.
So wait a minute, you getting ahead of yourself. So when did you first start hearing scratching and mixing of that style? Because it's like a New York thing at this point.
You know what's real funny? You gonna say that? So when we was living, and we had moved into Ricerstown Square Apartments, mm-hmm. right? And it was a friend of mine named Chris. He had a brother that lived in New York and a sister, but they used to come down here for the summers because Chris lived with his grandma. They had the same grandmother. Mm-hmm. So Anthony was always telling us about mixing contests. Mm. And we was like, what was that, right? And there was a record out. Now, of course, Sugar Hill Gang had already came out.
Right.
But that label was still in their infancy. And they had the record, Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel, mm-hmm. where he was mixing certain records and he was scratching. And then Anthony, one summer, he comes down talking about some mixing contests, and it was a kid lived in the basement. His parents had a couple different stereo systems in the living room, mm-hmm. right? One over in this corner, one up on the bookshelf. And he said, "I'm going to show you what it is," right? And he goes over to one and starts scratching record. I mean, the damn needle jumping all over the place. Same thing up at sound terrible. But then I said, oh, that's what dude doing on the record. That's what Grandmaster Flash is doing on that record. So I jive understood it. And then a year or two later, WEBB started having dudes have edit mixes and stuff. And so you kind of, it wasn't a dude mixing for a half hour. It was just like, a Billie Jean super mix or remix of Pac Jam
like
or
15
Smurf.
minutes or something like that.
Oh, no, not even that long.
Wow. So you're getting 5 minutes?
Like 10 between
minutes.
5 and 10, you know what I'm saying? But and that really piqued my interest. Like I kind of was putting, that's what that is, and that's what that is, and putting it all together, like,
Now, you mentioned WEBB. Is that James Brown's radio station that was up in the Junction?
It was after that, but it's that station.
Gotcha. Okay.
At one point it was James Brown owned it, and it was in the Junction. You could see the dude in the window.
Right.
And Dorothy Brunson owned it at one time, She's a big radio pioneer. People talk about Kathy Hughes and it's respect for her. But Dorothy Brunson was before her. As far as, black female pioneers in radio.
Right.
And then Morgan owned it. It was Morgan Radio.
Really?
Yeah, and they were solar powered at that point, and they was like in the winter it was shorter, in the summer it was longer, and they had that say it and play it line for kids when they come out of school. Man, we used to haul ass from school. Smurf Super Mix, Pac Jam Super Mix, play this, play that, and record them, and it was a good time, man. Chuck Max, no. Randy Dennis started that.
Wow.
Randy Dennis started. He don't even know. He talks of, man, you need to be. I said, Randy, you started me.
Yeah, right. You predated.
You don't even know.
That's serious.
Man, you had us running home from school every day for this. He don't know. He left and Chuck Max took it.
So then, I mean, obviously, your interest is growing as you're listening to it and enjoying it. So when's the first point where you go, all right, I need to get my hands on some turntables, or were you like, I'm gonna be a singer or a rapper first?
Little neighborhood parties.
Gotcha.
Like we always be my little friends. We would be in our houses and try to scratch the records by themselves. But then there was neighborhood parties, and they would want to hire DJs like at the different little rec pools and stuff. And like, no, we can do it. We can do it, right? And we bring in the worst equipment, and we just try to make it happen.
All right, so what was the first piece of equipment that you invested in?
It probably was that Techniques turntable, the cheap one my dad had bought. It was my money. He had took me down Luskin's to get, and a Newmart mixer, small one. I mean, then you lose interest for a minute, and you get it again, and then video game come out, you buy that. So it's still the early '80s.
Word.
And I had a couple other friends of mine, Kelly and James, and they were brothers, Ellaby's. And James was a little older than us. Kelly was my same age. And he, James' more interest was music. Me, Kelly, and the other ones, we break dancing Monday. We want mix Tuesday. We want to go to Ricetown Plaza on Mondama Wednesday. We all over the place. We scatterbrained. We real young teenagers. But James was really on the music thing more than us. Consistency. And so we always had a mentor when, he was like, y'all want to keep running the mall and stuff, messing with girls or doing whatever. Y'all ain't even getting nothing for real. Y'all need to be coming in this basement and getting this right. And then what we started doing was, when we was breakdancing, if there was a song we wanted to dance to, we'd buy one, and James would buy the other one, so he could mix them. And that was our system for at least a whole summer. That's like deep. When Run DMC album came out, you couldn't buy Hollis Crew on no 12-inch. You had to buy the damn album, and we really liked it. We was already past it. It's like that and something I'm seeing stuff. I remember the first time hearing that was at a carnival.
Right.
And they had a DJ inside one of the rides. It was a New York Carnival's traveling. They played this like that. It was like, damn, we running the record store in the mall. I think it was at Ricetown Plaza, and they had it already, right? So we bought it, and that's how the first time we heard that. But we wanted to dance from Hollis Crew. We had to buy the whole damn album and to buy the album.
So, all right, in that time period, it was mentioned that there were bands in Baltimore. Frank Johnson mentioned a rap group called the New Marks
Yeah.
that were popular.
They were the ones. They were the ones. They weren't the first one on EBB,
Okay.
but they were the ones that kind of jumped it off. The AP crew was the first ones on EBB mixing.
The AP crew.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to look into that.
They
I'm
was
not
they
familiar.
was on that show that was it Morgan Radio.
Oh, you talking about Strictly Hip Hop?
Is that what it was?
The one that comes on Friday night from midnight to 4.
On that station, but I know they did something about AM Heroes or something. It was a history show. They had
Gotcha.
AP crew. They had We Rock. They had Terry on there. They had Spin. I think they had the
Right.
New Marks on. You know, New Marks is Kevin Lyles and
Right.
and Wayne and Rod and Spin.
Right.
And Delaney, DJ Solo, he on vacation right now, but he was originally in the group. He was one of the original members. Then I guess he left out. And so the New Marks were the first ones to kind of, they made it move. You know what I'm saying? AP
Right.
crew did some really, really legendary stuff, but the New Marks became more active.
Got you. And then, so as a spectator, because you really haven't gotten into the game yet. So what are you thinking as a kid from Baltimore, hearing bands that are becoming popular and successful from Baltimore?
Well, first we wanted to be DJ Spin.
Okay.
My heroes was Spin and Terry T and Vicious and Rest in Peace and Tommy Davis from Up Metro Stereo, because he was the guy you bought records from.
Got you.
But Spin, and to a lesser degree Terry, but not no lesser credit, right? But Spin was our guy.
Got you.
We loved him. Oh my gosh.
So at what point did you go, all right, I got to focus in and hone my skills?
When DJing and music kind of in general just out muscled everything else, like breakdancing kind of fell off, you know what I'm saying? And for me, playing sports kind of fell off. Not that I liked it any less,
Right.
but it just, for some reason, I started losing focus as a person. Like, you go through stuff as a teen. Just, I ain't want to play anything that kind of had a discipline out of my control. You in that rebellious stage, you don't want to do it no more.
Right.
I love baseball, I love basketball, and all that stuff. But since it was adults that was controlling that, I ain't want to hit none of that. I just ain't want to do it. School ain't want to do it. Nothing. And then music. Music is always something that people of a younger ilk kind of tell their story without being influenced. The story being influenced by people you supposed to be listening to. So of course that was us.
Right.
Period.
Exactly.
That was it. That's what we was going to
You
do.
created for the people that you wanted to talk to. That were people your age.
That was our story or our story to read. You know what I mean? And so the guy Kelly Allaby, he was the same. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of went that way.
So when was the first? Tell me about the first DJ gig you ever had.
It was one of them pool parties. It was one of them rec things. Just nothing serious. Just
Word. So how it worked? Were you like super nervous?
no.
You were at this point. You comfortable with your skills?
Well, I didn't know how bad it was. You know what I mean? Or, you do stuff and you think it's cool, and the people around you do too, because there's such a difference between, say, what Spin and them is doing, because they just so experienced, and there wasn't, dudes really just couldn't go by. You couldn't have, like, nowadays a dude could begin and have what the experienced dude has.
Right.
But back then, you didn't have a lot of ways to get to that stuff, so we ain't know. I mean, we heard some of the stuff they was doing, and we tried to do it. It just was a lot different, you know what I mean? But let's say around, I did stuff in the late 70s. I played music at parties, but I remember like the first, let's say it was maybe in the mid 80s, a house party on McCabe Avenue in a basement.
Word.
Where I really understood, all right, we starting at 10 o'clock, people coming in like that. I remember that being one of them. And I remember playing like Sing Sing and the original records and even playing Madonna songs. I mean, it was like a lot of different stuff that you played in a party that, like, you know how hip hop always tell the story of itself, like how hip hop was different because it wasn't necessarily about, it was like you played anything.
Right.
So we kind of did play anything, you know.
So, all right, from what I understand about DJing, each part of the night requires almost like a different set. So, like, you know, you don't want to use all of your good stuff
Exactly.
at 9 or 10.
The real version of DJing.
Right.
Okay.
You know, so how were you taught this, or did you guys learn that when you first started? Or are you like, man, why people ain't rocking? I'm playing this record, or people
well, you kind of go through that, right? You go through that in your career. You go through that. And let's move a little bit, right? Like, say, the first time I played in clubs, right, 86 or 87, so I was 18 or 19.
Right.
And I didn't you think you really kind of don't understand the pace of a night. And you know every venue is different. What I mean venue is, I'm in the basement one day, a couple months later you somewhere else, and then you in a club. So you're talking about a more professionalism, right? I was so excited. No, what happened was the first time my cousin Brian. Now, Brian used to be around Kelly and them a lot. And we all went to Northwestern. And I hadn't seen him in a while. We used to be together all the time. He got married on the secret, ain't tell nobody. We ain't know where he was. Somebody said they seen him somewhere. So we goes up there. And been about 3-4 months. We used to be with every day. So then he said, yeah, Dion, Floyd get ready to open this new club up there in Rogers and Ricetown and Hilltop, right? Used to be the movie. There used to be the Kung Fu movies, the Dollar Joint. They cleared it. And then after, right before they was getting ready to do it, Slim Butler really owned the spot. That owned the Palladium. This was way before that. So he owned the spot. It was Mareco's. It was a couple other things, and then it was closed again. And dude that we knew was getting ready to open. So he said, yeah, I'm going to work up there on the door. They got me up there. I said, yeah, why don't you get me? He said, come back here. He was working there, so come back, meet me. We got to go to the thrift store, get you a suit, whatever, right? So I'm up there. I'm on the door the first night, checking everybody, right? And then it was like a weird kind of thing at first. It was, they was doing, house music was just coming in.
Right.
So it was a lot of house dudes. It was a lot of LGBT people and not. You know what I'm saying? And my cousin used to be in a whole bunch of different scenes. And they was trying to make this place. Now, Odell's, you already know, they had been already rolling for many, many years.
That's a fact.
They was trying to do kind of a mixed kind of party as far as lifestyles inside of the Body Factory was what it was called. And so we was I didn't know anything, either opinion about that stuff either way. And but I did notice what it was, but I ain't think nothing about it.
Yeah, check is a check.
Right? And I have been friends with some of them same people for a long time, so my opinion about that stuff kind of eased in, so it wasn't like, oh, look what they doing.
Right.
I understand. I'm cool. Like if somebody would do that, I'd be like, just stay over there. Just let them do whatever. So, so one night they were supposed to have, what's this? I can't remember his name. Dude sang Tina Cherry on Motown. I forget his name, but he was supposed to have been there. DJ's late. Brian say, Scottie can DJ. I'll take him to my house and go get his records, right? So I get him. And I ain't understand the thing. It was a humongous venue, got an echo all over the place. I don't understand about a delay in systems. I sound a mess, right? But I had the right records.
Right.
Now what was going on was they was trying to make this a real housey thing they kind of was providing a culture shock for a lot of people that was coming in there, especially that night. They had a real mainstream crowd coming in there. And I was playing a little bit of stuff they was already playing, which was a lot of house stuff that became classics, but people weren't there yet. And of course, them records that we played.
Right.
And, you know, the dude was like, what are you doing? And I said, but look, they dancing to this. He said, but you sound a mess too. The mix is off. I said, I can't hear this stuff in here, but I don't care, right? So, okay, I learned, and I played that night. And then at some point, the place stopped doing that. They weren't making no money. And it became a hip-hop club.
Gotcha.
And Wild Style was playing. DJ Wild Style, rest in peace. He was playing. And I was doing the lights. No more security. It was Sir's dudes coming in. I was too small for that. Right? So they had me doing the lights. And Wild Style used to work at Metro with Tommy. He knew I bought a lot of records. So what happened was he would go on break. He would say, yo, take the wheels for 10 minutes. Take the wheels for 20 minutes. He was on EBB with Mr. Magic at that point. Yo, play for a half hour. Whatever. I got something to do. Then eventually he was like, yo, be here 10 o'clock and open for me. 10 o'clock. He wouldn't come to 11. He wouldn't come to 12. Now, to go back to your question about knowing how the party progresses, of course I didn't. I knew, but also you want to shine too. What you understand is like, it was nice Frank Ski played there too. Frank Ski would have an opener, and he made sure that opener didn't play nothing hot. And I was like, why this dude is playing like this? And then I ended up, and Frank Ski would come and bam, he playing all the joints, right?
Right.
Well, that wasn't going to happen to me on that other night, right?
Oh,
so I'm
no.
stupid, right? I comes in there, it ain't no, they just letting people in, they running in there. I'm playing Audio 2 Milk is Chilling at 10 o'clock. When it's hot. I'm playing Rebel Without a Pause right behind it. I'm playing Paid in Full, Rakim right behind it. It's 10:30. You know what I'm saying?
Now you got to replay all these things again.
Then I'm playing Sing, fucking Makosa and Dancing Drummers B. Ain't even
You going for it.
Shorty.
It
ain't even 12 o'clock yet. I done really rocked out. And Wild Stock, I'm like, yo, you ain't even, it's too early. You played everything. I said, man, you just scared. Let's play it over again. I don't know, do whatever. Man, we open at 5 o'clock. Another thing, clubs was open until when they felt like closing.
Word.
And because alcohol was in older clubs.
Right.
So anything that wasn't an older club, didn't have alcohol, it was still good. You know what I mean? They just was open at 5 o'clock.
Word.
And so yeah, then, all right, so when he started letting me be in there whenever or wouldn't come, guess what? You learned that discipline about, guess what? I can't be playing that damn rubber, or you got something opening for you. You can't play that this early. You can't play the Rakim joint this early. Hey, what are you doing? But that was then. And you had enough music to support playing a whole night without repeating joints till 5 o'clock.
Right. Exactly. Well, I think that back in the day, our ears were a little bit more diversified
and receptive. You had people receptive to a lot more stuff too.
Right. Exactly. Now we have become so much has got to be this, and if it's not this, oh man, this is whack. Like,
no, you're right. You're exactly right.
I remember I tell my little cousins and my nieces and nephews that I remember there was a time when you would go to I'm not about to say Hammer Jacks, was the wrong one, but when I used to go to Paradox when I just turned 18, each part of the night they broke up into different styles of music. You'd have 30 or 40 minutes of reggae. You'd have 30, 40 minutes of just hip-hop stuff. And then you might have an old hip-hop segment. Then they'll come into the new hip-hop. And then come midnight, that's when that club music would start going boom, boom, and they would go, and it would be progressive. It'd be the older club music, and it would gradually come about 12:45 when it's hot and it's totally packed. They would get into the hottest club joints, and by then your whole shirt sweated because you've been dancing, you jumping all around, and then they would calm it down for a little bit, switch back to some reggae. They mix a little hip hop with the reggae, and then hit you hard at the end of the night with that club music. And then you would just, by then, you were just so amped up and drunk and whatever, you know what I mean? And then it'd be the end of the night, and you take your butt home. But it's like now when I go to the clubs, there's very little club music being played, if any. And then, like you said, it's the same they might have the same 50 rap songs, and they'll play it at each part of the night, the same 50. And I'm like, this is not. It just seemed like DJing became less of a skill set, and even like a being fearless to intermix records together to put a little bit of some rock and roll with a little bit of some hip hop and making it work. Like that was a time we didn't get upset if somebody put some rock and roll on. If it fit and it sounded good and it kept the energy up, we was with it.
I remember Sean playing Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics. And like every DJ started having to do that. Like, cause he had the nerve to start playing that like that, and it became like he did it once, and it became like almost like every DJ had to do it for every crowd. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy, like stuff like that.
Word. So when did you become the man? Like when did you confidently get to a place where you knew and everybody around you knew that you could hold down a club all night long?
Whenever God allowed it. Whenever the blessing came. But
was that in that club that you got to that space?
That started a lot. You know, the thing with that club was it was in my hood. Mm-hmm. Even though it was big, and at one point at the beginning they were getting crowds from a lot of places because you know it was a new club. So you know, but my little bit of fan base was coming in there because it was Northwestern, it was Park Heights and Ricestown. It was Rogers Avenue and Cold Spring and the Bottom and all that. And so I had some people in there knew me and could talk about it during the week, you know. It was all word of mouth, of course, you wasn't no social medias. But it had me a nice little, if it wasn't big, it was loyal base. And so it kind of, and it closed at one point, and then the beat open, and I did every night in there except for Sunday. Frank did that. And at some point that closed, but before that closed, this is what happens. Before that closed, I got into a beef with the owners about money. And it wasn't no whole lot, and that's what I was saying, right? I was like, what happened was I played and that week Frank did something at the one of them halls. They ain't even downtown no more. Like one of the big at Festival Hall. And they saw me downtown. I'm gonna get ready to catch the bus, go up there to work, not even to play. Right? They see me on the bus stop. They like, cause they was looking for me. They went by my house already. I was already gone. They said, take them up to the club and let them open till I get there. So I worked 4 nights that week. And so at the end of the Sunday night, not the owner, not Slim, but the dude he had running it for him, James, and not him, but his partner. I was cool with James more than this guy, Lou. Lou came in later. So I see Lou pay a chick, right? I ain't mad at the girl. She get paid. I'm like, Lou, what's up, man? He like go psh, and walk off. I say, James, what's up, man? I can't get no money for this week. I played 4 nights. I said, it ain't like I'm asking for no whole lot of money. You think about right now. I said, man, you give me $100, I mean, whatever, $25, I don't care, but just something.
Right.
Yo, paying the girl in front of me and just like, sure, whatever, right? Man, you couldn't have said nothing. Like, I said, man, all that money y'all getting, and you know I know what money you getting too, ain't just in here. I said, why don't you reach in your pocket and give me $1, right? I said, that's cool, guess what? I got this. I go into the main room where everybody's sitting, you know, the night over, everybody, you know, in the club, people just be sitting there giggling, laughing, doing all that, right?
Lingering.
Right. I say, guess what? I quit this, and I'm going to go up Godfrey's, and I'm going to shut this down. They looked at me laughing like, oh, he mad. He big mad, right? They laughing. I don't even know. I've never been to Godfrey's. I knew they were rolling because Frank was there before that, right? So Godfrey's been established, right? It's been open 50 years, right? Vicious and them was up there. They was rolling on some nights. I ain't know nobody up there. I ain't never been in there. I ain't know the owner Duke. I ain't know none of that, right?
What makes you just come out your mouth and just
because
say
I
that
was big mad. Right? I was big mad. Right? So I said that, not knowing a damn thing. So 2 weeks, week go past. I ain't working, right? I'm working at a record store in Park Heights and Cold Spring. was a Metro stereo. So then I get a call on a Saturday in the afternoon. My man Robbie called me, found me up. Remember, ain't no cell phones. I ain't got no beeper money.
You gotta track them down, baby.
Right.
That was the name
He
of the
calls
game.
me in the store. He said, "Yo, what you doing tonight?" I said, "Nothing, man. You know I ain't messing with Shorty and them no more." He say, "Want to play at Godfrey's?" I say, "Yeah." He said, "Now it ain't supposed to be every week. It's just for the night. Just go up there and do what you're supposed to do, and we're gonna see what happens." So I goes up there, right? Now the backstory is that Vicious and them beat up the sound man and got fired. Now,
Yeesh.
the week before. And DJ Scratch that was on EBB then, he was supposed to have been there on a Friday. He don't show up. Then, and don't call. So the next night, they had somebody terrible in there. No. That Friday, they had somebody, he was terrible. So he calls the dude. He knew Robbie. He was really looking for Wild Style. He said, what's them dudes that was up the Body Factory? Bing, bang, boom. He said, well, I can't find one of them, but I think I can get the dude you used to play with him. He said, I need somebody for the night. I need somebody for the night. So he calls me. Robbie calls me. And I go up there. I go in the office. He said, how much you was getting paid up there, right? I lied like hell. I said $50, right? He said I was getting 25, 30. I said 50. He said, all right, I'll give you 65. We'll see where it go. I said, all right. I play that Saturday night. He come in the booth at about 3:30. It's booming in there, right? 3:30, and it's still packed. He say, I think I found my DJ, right, dude? So he said, what you doing tomorrow? I said, nothing. He said, come up here tomorrow, right? So I come, play, and then at the end of the night, he say, I wasn't Scottie B yet. I was just Scottie. Dudes went to school with me. That's what they knew.
Right.
He say, he down in his office after the night over here. He said, hey, what you want your name supposed to be on the ad on radio for this week? I said, man, I don't know. He said, I'll take care of it. Then that week, I start hearing it. It's the week before Christmas, 1988.
Wow.
Yeah, the 17th was the first day I played in there. Right. And then the 25th was Christmas. It was a Sunday. Mm-hmm. Spin was playing. Spin used to play the Sundays. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He played the Sundays.
Getting more money than you was getting. That's a good Christmas right there. He come home with some consistent cash.
So he played, and then eventually, Spin was starting to be a little creative, past where he should be, like kind of as far as like crowds are, right? And I was starting to kind of dictate the crowd a little bit. And he moved around Sunday, Friday, Saturday. Eventually got to be he played Fridays, and I played Saturday, Sundays. And that's when Saturday started really getting bananas. And it kind of was embarrassing for me because, you know, we followed Spin was our guy. Wow. So I didn't like dudes not liking him. I would almost fight with dudes, and they're like, I remember being in there, if I open for him and he'd be late on a Friday and I would do the lights, dudes would be like, get him off. Like, oh, you can't say that. That's DJ Spin. What is wrong with y'all, man?
Right, exactly.
Y'all don't even know what y'all doing. It's 2020. He's still rolling. Y'all proved y'all know what y'all doing.
Facts.
That man know what he doing. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about, man. But, you know, if you ain't sitting in the right spot, then you ain't in the right spot, or you just too far above people, then it's cool somebody else to understand where you at.
Perspective is everything.
So it's Godfrey's, it's 1989, and that's where we at right now in this story.
Golly. So, all right. So at this point, tell me about this, because we're going to get it, because you got like I said, you got a long illustrious story, but there's so much that I need to cover. The brotherhood of DJs in Baltimore is so mystifying to me. Like, it's such a group. It's a very complex group of individuals.
This is where I meet Sean too.
Okay, yeah. Well, before we get to Sean, tell me about this. Like, Baltimore DJs are protective. It's a love-hate relationship with each
absolutely.
other. It's a competitive thing, but it's this love thing. It's so weird when you get a group of DJs together. I don't understand. Can you explain this to me? Like, how did this, like...
You know, there's a difference between love and like.
That's a fact.
So love is unconditional.
Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta work on sometimes.
Exactly. Okay, I get it.
And
I get it.
and like it's almost like if it's a person you love but you can't stand that person, and you see a bunch of dudes banking them, you pull
gonna
up
jump
in that car, you pull the biscuit out, you run them off or do whatever. You put him in the damn car, you take him around the corner and put his ass out the car, but you saved him from
Right.
them dudes getting him.
That's
You know
a
what I'm
fact.
saying? And that's, you wouldn't let another dude whip their ass, but you'll whip their ass yourself.
That's a fact.
But you wouldn't let nobody put near harm, no kind of way, nothing.
Right.
It's kind of like that. It is a brotherhood.
It's
You know
a
what I mean?
fraternity, man.
The
It's
person, and you know, Vicious V. It's like a kind of shame. Like he really personified that more than anybody. Like I seen him beefing with dudes and run up on him like he want to fight him and say, "Yo, I just heard your grandmother died. If you need something, let me know." And just try to fight them or put a knife in them a week before that. The dude don't even know you thinking any different. He run up on you, "Yo, if you need anything," like, yo, thought you was getting ready to do something to him. Yo, like, yo, he just was like weird like that, man. Like, and just, but it is like that. You know, it's always going to be you know, I really just myself got out of everything, damn thing being so damn competitive. Like, almost just recently, maybe with music that I play myself,
Mhm.
couldn't go into a place to hear somebody else without always being like, he sucks. And I don't want to tell you, well, people already can do math on this radio, but I'm damn near at that Corona number.
Yeah.
Damn near. I
Yeah.
ain't there, but I'm close enough, right?
Yeah.
But like, and I really just, in my childish ass mind, just really got out of doing that, right? Like if it's house or reggae or any of that, I could have at any point in my life sat there and listened to anybody because I didn't know it as well to be able to say a damn thing.
Right.
But
But I
It
think as a competitor, that's always going to be in you.
oh yeah,
And as an artist, as a part of being an artist, where it's like the same way I can listen to a record. There's a portion of me that's always critiquing: is the mix right? Did you say it the right way? Or man, this seemed like you slipped up here. Or like, so when you go into a club and you hear somebody DJing, there's a part of you that's a consumer that's entertained, but there's also a part of you that's critiquing it. Yo,
Sure.
you could have transitioned that. Why you do that transition? Or why you backspin that? You shouldn't have did that.
no, you right. And but on another note, and you're 1,000. But on another note, when they come to this younger, older thing, if you want a certain kind of DJ or a flow to a party, you hire, even if it's for younger people, you hire an older dude. And if you want a certain other thing, you hire a younger person that are going to play the same stuff. They both are going to play this Little Baby, and they all going to play that stuff, right? But if you want a certain flow, and nothing wrong with either flow, but if you want a certain flow, because you know people 50 years old, they listen to Little Baby, they think they sicker than their kids. If you want a certain other kind of thing, you hire a younger DJ. Like they say something about this. I said, yo, stop. Because if you look at a party with a bunch of young people and it's 1,000 of them in there and they rocking off, I don't give a damn what they doing. They doing the right job, whatever that is.
That's a fact.
They doing the right job. Maybe you need to watch them and stop wondering why they hiring them and watch them and pick up something. I remember the first time I heard OK and some of them dudes and Chubbs play a party, I was amazed. I mean, they played records 4 times. They didn't care. They did whatever. But that's what they were supposed to do because the people liked it.
That's
And,
right.
and they played. They were singing, like rapping the records too. And it was just different. You know what I mean? I was like, man, y'all murdered this here.
That's a fact. But also, I would like this to be said is that Baltimore City, and I've been all over this country, this blessed America. There's nothing like a Baltimore.
Go ahead and say it.
Baltimore
Say
club
it.
mix, bro. I've been to New York. I've been to Houston, Atlanta, Miami, LA. You know what I'm saying? I've been to St. Louis. I've been around, and I've been to clubs in all of Chicago. there's nothing like a Baltimore DJ. And I feel like, and it's because of that mentality that y'all have, that super competitive, y'all gotta get it right. Because nothing irritates me worse than to go to Atlanta. I love y'all. I lived in Atlanta for 10 years. I love y'all. But Atlanta radio DJs is horrible, dog. They mixers be like, oh, you be like, what are you doing? They don't really know how to blend right. You know what I'm saying? New York is dope. But they are more technical with the sound effects and the bombs now and the talking over and like, but that perfect balance of dope mixing and that intricate like blending and all of that, that's just Baltimore, bro. We got that on lock. So hey, don't feel bad. What you doing is you being hard on the next generation so they could get up and be proper with that. They got to be crispy with it. You know what I mean?
Doubt,
I'll never be mad at that. Like, and to me, the best of the best out of Baltimore can beat everybody in the world. Like, we gladiators when it come down to that. Like, super gladiators. So, like, you know what I mean? But anyway, you meet Sean Caesar. It's 1989. How did you meet Sean Caesar?
He was DJing for a dude that I used to DJ for, an artist.
Wait a minute. Sean Caesar used to be a DJ.
No, he still is. He still is.
I gotta let that sink in for a second. Like, wait a minute. Sean Caesar was a DJ and still is a DJ. Okay.
Now, Club Fantasy.
Gotcha.
That's Sean Caesar.
Really?
That's Sean Caesar.
Wow.
When everybody in Baltimore started liking house music,
Mm-hmm.
like people like us, not just people that's supposed to like house, but like hip hop kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Sean Caesar doing that.
Wow.
That's really a combination of me and him. But I'm more the hip hop side of Godfrey's and playing house.
Right.
He's at a house place, kind of doing the opposite, where he might play one or two hip hop records a night,
Right.
or something different. But yeah, even though of course he in the bedroom, he playing hip hop, but he was a great house DJ, and he that was him, and that's kind of what made club music, was that.
Yeah, it's the blending of house music and hip hop like samples.
First, it's like mentally just being ready to accept it, even in a night of dudes playing it together in the same night. Then it becomes what the songs end up reflecting that. But he was DJing for a dude, King David or King D or something like that, and I was before, and then me and him lost contact. We kind of didn't agree about something, and then they were having a rap battle at Godfrey's on a Sunday, and Sean was with him, and Sean knew who I was, and I didn't really know who he was yet. Mm-hmm. And but I know I met him, and he was cool. We run around, you know what I'm saying? We switched numbers, and we got to be real cool. And he was working the DJ outlet at that point,
Gotcha.
down Old Town Mall. And that's how I met Sean. Like, but then of course we got to be friends. He started telling me stories about one time when I was at Calvert Hall. Me and Troy went up to Body Factory thinking we was slick, playing something stole my stepfather's car, playing some house stuff, riding through the lot of the Body Factory line all down the block, thinking we slick. Ain't a damn person looking at us. Right? Then he say he go in Godfrey's, and he looked in the it's Pat. It's a sir. He looked. He said, "Who's that? That's the best they can do." Right? And then I'm playing something, and then I throw on 900 number, and everybody lose their mind. He like, "Oh, that's why he up there. I don't even know who that is, but he killing it in here, right?" And then we end up meeting each other, and we were just like-minded, like sports, like music, you know.
Kept it simple. So, all right, y'all start hanging out. Both y'all doing DJing in two different worlds, kind of, sort of, and then being able to interact and interchange between the two.
He had the Friday
Right.
going, and I had a Saturday.
Gotcha.
And people used to
go from one to the other. So when did we get to the point of, yo, we gotta start a record label and we're gonna start putting out records? Like, when did that happen?
I remember DJ Technique, like, thinking along that line of music, like putting records, like looping records together and all. I had a little tape with a couple loops on it. And I worked with a dude named The Equalizer, right? And he came up with an idea, let's do a record with the one that I got the rhythm on it. And then Sean did something with Ty Flex, and that was the Yo-Yo Where the Hoes At. And he was at Old Town Mall, and I was at Inner City. And we used to have a contest since we was real cool, who could outsell each other records. Like if I could outsell him on his record, like make it like it ain't just we gonna shut out the other. That'd be easy. We just throw him behind the counter with nobody buying them. But that was my guy. I wanted to outsell him for him.
Right.
And of course I did because I was a good record seller, right?
Right.
And people just took anything I put in their hand.
Yes.
And then we was like, yo, let's do this together, right? Like just for fun. So we did the separate joints because I mean, at first, not that Equalizer ain't know what he was doing, but it was a convenience thing. He worked in the store with me,
Right.
and but me and Sean was like minded, right? So I mean, it was gonna happen anyway. So the next records is we did them together, and that's just what started. You know, we just had ideas for first records we put out had hip hop and club breaks on them because that's what was on records coming out of New York. It was like one side was house and one side had the little hip hop breaks put together, and we figured that's what was going to sell. You know.
So you're trying to tell me this is just an organic kind of coming together of minds to just go, we just going to create our own records, and we might as well do it together because we enjoy working together, and it's just convenient.
And we just hang out. We playing video games together.
Right.
We just hanging out, walking the streets. And
facts. And you
clubs.
already have the customer base because all of the DJs are your friends, so it's easy for them to go, hey, yo, buy this, spin it, rock
now, you
it.
know, around 87, Tommy Davis had Get the Hole out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people say that's the first club record, and it kind of in a way it is, in a way it ain't. I mean, that's a house record. He meant to be a house record. It had repetitive sample in it.
Mm-hmm.
But even in Baltimore, a lot of the house stuff, even to this day, always has that element. Like it'll have samples that if you know music, you pick out right away. You know what I mean? And that Spin and them make a lot of records that way. To this day, Charisma will. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's because the music is always so dominated by DJs, and Baltimore always has been. That's why, you know, people say, why the DJs were stars so early and not rappers? Or like they held rapping back. No, they didn't hold rap back. You know what I'm saying? And
Nah, I don't agree with that. I feel like any person that asks that question really doesn't understand music and business, because DJs have the ability to, first of all, are entertaining a crowd on a regular basis, and is making enough living to survive in that process. So you're dedicating 4 to 6 hours a night, but you also coming out of with your 50, your 100, your 200. So it's that financial thing keeps you stable, helps you reinvest, and it keeps you interested. Getting paid will keep you in somewhere.
oh hell yeah!
If you getting paid, you gonna keep doing it.
Why you think people still going DJ in these clubs this week when that dang coronavirus run all over the place?
Exactly.
They want that money.
They want that
money.
That's a fact. Whereas, you know, music is not the same. The music requires a significant financial upfront investment for the potential of a financial return on the back end. So it's like it's so different. You know what I mean? So yeah, a DJ could come out, sacrifice maybe $1,500, $2,000, and then, you know, maybe do a small investment up front, and then can get that money back in a year. Maybe 6 months if they good enough. You know what I mean? So they were ignorant to ask you that question. So anyway, so you and Sean, y'all start dropping records. Now, how much are records cost? I know I'm asking the sauce questions. I know this is a whole lot of detailed stuff. But like a case of records, what's the minimum amount of records you could get? Like 50 or 100?
No, I think it might have been 100, but the initial, you gotta pay for the press plate.
Okay.
You pay for a press plate and mastering, which is BS. Like all they do is maximize it,
the volume of it,
right?
And keep it moving.
And if they did that, and 5 test presses.
Okay.
They don't send you the acetates unless you, and they could if you wanted to pay $10 or $20 a piece. They send you acetates. That's the real hard ones. They only last 10 spins.
Right.
So, you know, they were useless in a way because if I got the damn acetate, I want to play the joint. I'm playing it by the first week. It'd have been burnt out.
Right. So all right. So you're trying to tell me that the first plate, what was it called?
The press plate. They was about 500 for
so
that.
That's 500 for a press plate.
For all that's
for everything all together.
That everything.
Right.
Now the actual records. I think 500 of them might have been $400 or $500. So you about 1,000, about 1,000 to get you started with the first 500.
That's not bad.
No, wait. That's from the lowest quality press plants.
Oh.
Say, but if you wanted the first 500, it might have been around 1,400 from the better ones, like Europa Disc, or Europa Disc did most of the stuff on majors that didn't have their own press plants.
Got you.
Or like when they got rid of them. Europa just did all the major independents in New York, like Strictly Rhythm and Nervous and all those. And you could tell right away sound quality, the record itself, you know, and you know, you could go to some of them cheaper plants and say, well, you know, Europa just would say we only use virgin vinyl, which means it's the first time. The other ones would give you the option, virgin vinyl or reused vinyl, which is a bunch of old records they took from somebody else,
melted
them down with the label still on them, so the wax was a little
loose,
offended. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like Trax Records in Chicago, which is a legendary label, had, you know, Marshall Jefferson, all the, like, they were known to have the worstest sounding stuff because that dude would just use remelted all the time vinyl. It was bad.
So, being the sticklers that you were, I'm quite sure y'all really weren't into the reused vinyl.
Oh, yes, we were. At first,
I'm trying to give you that compliment.
But it goes down the road. Like,
right.
Like at first, we was counting nickels. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we did what we had to do to get them damn records out there, and then, and we didn't know it was any difference. We thought but eventually you learn, and when it started being like more of a business decision, then we, after a while and for a nice little run, when that Unruly thing really started jumping off, we did use the better vinyl because we were trying to have a better product.
Right.
Like Sean is always a stickler for the better product, if at all possible, to just pay for it.
Right. That's deep. So, let me ask you this question. I've asked this a few times in the last month and a half. Were y'all thinking about publishing and copyrights at the time?
No.
Yeah.
That's how.
Reoccurring theme.
I had an issue with the first record with the Equalizer. Like, I didn't own even though we basically were at the same point. You know what I mean? It was his label. I ain't know and I ain't care. I wanted all the money from the sales of the first batch. Like, how we gonna re-up? I said, man, I don't care. I want my money. You know what I mean? I didn't care. And then that's kind of how we split. And he had a nice little run of records after that because he had some stuff with him. And but we weren't never unbenefited. It's just we just thought different. And plus, I was with Sean. Like, I mean, that would just make sense. But then he put the record back out that we did, and he was like, you ain't got no copyrights on this, so how you beefing? Right? I'm like, because I did the damn records. I did most of the record. Don't even matter. I mean, you can say what you want to people or use that for the reason, but, and, you know, I didn't know. And then after a while, just forget about arguing with him, right? Because we weren't great friends, but we was always going to be cool. But it ain't make no sense keep going on about it, and I'm wrong, you know, anyway.
Right.
And so, you know, it ain't no, and when it comes to business, you're going to find out, unless it's an extremely person you really good with, all that, but what about don't matter. You know what I mean? But what about what we really did? That don't matter. He owns them publishings. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. And bringing that up on the Unruly stuff, we ain't really care about that. And, you know, some of our artists kind of came that we had, you know, Jimmy and Boo and Cool Breeze, all them at some point, you know, what we did was Sean was pretty meticulous. You know, even if we didn't have necessarily registered copyrights on stuff we did with us alone and with artists, he did have paperwork, like signed over paperwork, like this track is purchased for $150. This is this, you know what I mean, and you relinquish all your rights to whatever, as long as you paid this money, and you know, pretty much whatever was in them contracts. Not pretty much. Whatever was in them contracts, we lived up to.
Right.
You know, down the road, you people, because somebody you know, if we had a song out in 1994 and it's 2004 or 2014, the whole world might know that song in 2014. But the whole world, if this record would have came out in 2014, in one day, the whole world would have knew about it. But when you're thinking about 1994 and how long it takes for a vinyl record to make any kind of dent in the world of music, it may never.
Right.
Especially when you're only selling 1,000 or 2,000 of them, how many people actually can have that record?
Right.
So, and then next thing you know, it's 2014. People, everybody know, but we didn't sell a million of these. They know about because of the internet. You know what I mean? Nobody paid for this. You know what I mean? And you think we did X, Y, and Z, and then you're going to try to say you ain't signed it. The paper right there look like my signature, but I ain't signed. That's the kind of people you're dealing with.
So, all right, let's go back because you're selling 1,000 pieces of vinyl. You all right, there's a point where you start selling CDs because that's when I start buying them. You talking about the late 90s. That's when you had Reggie Reg, you had Quicksilver, you had Unruly goes from just the two of you to becoming a roster, and then you've got a roster of producers. So Dookie Man's telling me how you kind of pull him in. He starts creating. You talking about Rod Lee's creating
technique.
Technique,
people, yeah.
right? And then you've got DJ Diamond K. He's doing stuff. I think that he said he might have been with y'all for a short time period and then went off on his own.
There were other labels, and at that point it was a pretty fruitful industry.
Right.
You had DJ Patrick, and he had his thing. Like Patrick, Kenny B, Diamond. They were kind of they were 3 different labels, but they were kind of cousins, right?
Right.
That was the Hammerjacks crew. They were kind of cousins, and we were kind of one label with many dudes. They were pretty much many labels with one dude each, and it was like this, basically the same thing. Just you looking at the X-axis or the Y-axis, right?
Right.
And they did their thing and they sold records and they did well, and people always say, well, I don't care. I like for other people. We like that they had their stuff going on because as DJs originally, we like music. And it's, even though the sounds, it was a different sound take on the same thing. So that's why it was even better. Because if you hear the same, I don't give a damn how good something is. If you hear same style or something so much, you get bored of that. You don't want to make people bored of it. It keeps it alive with more people in it because it sounds a little different.
Correct. And then you had DJ Booby.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sean Marshall. I mean, everybody had their things. Whatever. Go. But anyway, getting back, refocus. So how did you come up with the name Unruly Records?
We sitting in the room one day. This is back in '91. And we used to be around kid Tyree. Right? Tyree liked house music. He used to play sometimes the house music for me at the store. He used to run around with us. And he used to always have little funny sayings, right? Little words he used to say. And I'm like, what the hell are we going to call this, right? And unruly was one of the words he used to always, was one of them. He would say, man, they was acting unruly down there. Like, he would just say things like, man, y'all ain't going to get wild in this place of business, right? He would just say all kind of little sayings he used to have. And first thing he said, it's called Place of Business Records. We're like, nah. Then we said, there's something else now. He said, Unruly Motherfucking Records. We looked at each other like, motherfucking right. That's it, right there. Right?
That's dope.
And then, but the way it became like, almost like an entity, a music entity, not a business name, was we in the studio with Tony doing What's Up, What's Up. And we said, yo, when you write it, which he wasn't writing nothing, right? He was just saying it off his fucking head, but sorry.
It's all good.
He just say it off his head. Said, say something about Unruly Records, right? He starts saying unruly like it's a person and saying it and saying it and saying it. Like a lot of times, like, yo, we getting ready to run with this. Like as this like almost like Doo-Doo Brown and Frank did, but a little bit more cooler. Right. And after that studio session with that, our focus as far as that brand and stuff was way different.
So when did you meet? I want to run this back because Miss Tony is Mr. Tony, Miss Tony. this is a classic. This is a legend in Baltimore. Like, he passed away, but like, to me, completely imprinted on my life, because this guy is the host. You know, when I get the Paradox on Friday night, when that 12 o'clock hit, that nigga on that microphone, you can't touch him. He used to be on 92Q, couldn't touch him. So how did you meet him, and how did y'all end up getting him into the situation?
So I knew Tony when he went to Harbor City.
Okay.
So this is mid 80s, like around that time. And so around 87, 88, I was dealing, a little chick I was dealing with, right? She went to Harbor City.
Mm-hmm.
She was 18, I was 19, whatever, right? And she was in school with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew him from the street, right? Somewhere. Because I remember going up to Harbor City and seeing she was with him, and I knew him already. So then he started working project security when he was like right out of high school. That's how a lot of people really got to know him, when he was working project security. And so we already just knew him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then when I started going to clubs, and that first club I was working at, I said it was trying to do the LG. When that club, on the nights it wouldn't be good, they would go down to this other spot called The Last Stop. And that was a completely drag queen, just transgender, everything. When you hear about them kind of clubs, that was the Baltimore one.
Right.
Was The Last Stop. And Tony used to be in there, right? A lot of times we would take, like the girl I was dating, that same girl, we would go, so, you know, a lot of friends of ours, they didn't understand that, like, oh, we good, right? We ain't messing with it, but we used to go down there, and a lot of people we knew when they went to school, went to Northwestern. And my cousin used to be down there making money on, and just, but that's where we kind of got cool with him. Then Fantasy opened, and Tony would be in there on Saturdays mostly, Sundays some, and Fridays some. He started being on Fridays more. Fridays was college night, Saturday was whatever, a little older, but whatever, and Sunday was gay night. And and then he started being more in straight clubs after a while. And then he started emceeing. And Frank took a liking to him, right? And
Plug.
you know, and he kept saying, "Pull your guns out" on the mic. Frank made the song about that, right, with him. And that's how the Miss Tony thing really jumped a course, right? I remember, and I was at the Ozone there. And so Ozone was the Saturday night party to the Sunday night party at Hammerjacks. And every once a month, Friday was Shake and Bake. And Tony was hitting all of them. Like, and the funny thing is, if you was doing a party, you knew your party was jumping when Tony would all of a sudden show up and then start emceeing. So he would do that. I remember the first night, he had Pull Your Guns Out on the tape. So I played it off the tape, and the owner, same dude, owned garbage, gonna run the booth talking about, they already fighting here all the time. You can't play that. I said, yo, but the dude, it's his song. How we not gonna play it? They playing everywhere. So how we not gonna play it? He even MC in here. How we not gonna play? He said, man, Scottie, just play half. I said, how the hell you gonna play half of it? I'm not doing it. I'm playing the whole song, man. Beef up the security.
Yeah, right.
We already wilding out in here. It don't even matter for real. And but that's how he got rolling on music.
That's crazy. And so then the legend of him begins, and then he gets on 92Q, starts doing hosting. I mean, being a radio personality, and then bigger clubs and bigger clubs. Wow. So did he ever, and this is me, maybe ignorant, did he ever do a whole album of content?
I think he did. I know Diamond has something of his out. That I think a couple of them were older, but most of it was newer stuff.
Right.
But Tony is hard structurally because, like, he didn't think in them terms. It's like I said, when we was trying to get him to, when he went into a studio, it ain't matter what he said 1 minute before he went into that booth. It was not going to be the same as what he said in that booth. It just wasn't. He, like, almost freestyled about memory So it wasn't always the same. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's so you kind of just gotta keep doing it until you get what you want
Right.
out of it. You know, back if it would have been now, it would have been fine. 'Cause the average Mo can cut and paste anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But back then it wasn't
It
easy.
wasn't that convenient. Right. Okay, so the roster starts growing. Who was the first DJ or all right, two questions then. What's the first record that really took off super big for Unruly? And what was the first DJ to take off or act? Let me say it like that. It was act that took off real big on Unruly.
This is it's gonna be a funny answer, right?
Go right ahead.
All right. The first record, well, for a long, long time, the best-selling record we had was Sean's first record he did by himself, because it had a house record on the other side. Just it's a house classic. Like anybody, like Louis Vega, any of them, you say anything about this song, it's way surpassed anything else we did after that, because it was in a whole other big universal market.
Right.
It's just funny that it's that way it went. But then after that, we had a nice solid sales thing. I mean, our artists weren't artists like Miss Tony or anybody like that. We didn't do vocals at first for a long time.
Right.
So we concentrated on the producers. You know, Griffin, KW Griffin, Blue Man, and they were. It's kind of sad in a way, and it's nobody's fault, but they were as big as a producer was going to be, but that isn't as big as an artist going to be. You know what I'm saying? They were as big, and then they came out. All the DJs knew who they were.
Right.
The public didn't necessarily know, and the DJs, whether it be me or DJ Patrick or whoever, right, were the unintended beneficiary of just how things went in Baltimore as far as the DJs being a star and any artist not necessarily being, because the DJs were just so advanced and not being in front physically, but just that whole competitive thing. DJs were so out in front of what it meant to be successful in their line that they weren't shutting anything down. They were picking anything up. And that's kind of how that went. So, you know, like Diamond K, a lot of his releases were vocal driven. Like Foe had songs. And even Patrick to a degree. You know what I'm saying? We didn't think that way. We almost shied away from that.
Right.
Now, down the road, we had to change. You know what I'm saying? But at the beginning, music trends always start from production. Like even now, you got a million dudes saying one thing. The Baby comes out, his production, whoever do his production is way different than who's doing anybody else's. So people hear, that sticks out to people. He ain't saying nothing different.
Nope.
His production and his faith, now this is where it is on his credit, his faith to believe that that will fly and I'm going to rap over that works. Now, so every time a new dude comes out in hip hop and reaches that level, you can go back and listen to the production and compare it to the other stuff. Be like, oh, that's why. Because these other 8 dudes, the Money Bags, and whoever else, it's what they did was already being done, or what they've done has been copied 100 times, is here. And money, like they'll say now, like they like the Money Bag stuff, but it kind of sounds like he's rapping over the same stuff. Like Pop Smoke, when that style of production first hit, they was like, damn,
This is different.
but now you listen to his whole album, and it's like one run on sentence. But I like it, but I'm not gonna like, if it was another album of that coming out, I probably would. It would be.
He would need to evolve. It would need
Yeah.
to change into a different thing.
But it's always the production in any music that kind of sets a trend for a while or
Right.
changes it.
right.
And that's kind of how we looked at it. We was DJs, so we wanted everything just to be a DJ, kind of like they made it, you know. So
Right.
up to the vocals, the vocal sample, everything sample, or some kind of drum programming or programming to it, And it was, of course, it was faster. You could do it yourself and ain't had to worry about other stuff. But that's just the way we thought. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then eventually, of course, the biggest record we ever had was DJ Class I'm the Ish. We forgot to mention him, but he's been around with me since that. I'm not lying. Since that basement party on McCabe, and it's actually how I got it was because of him.
Wow.
What happened was a kid named Eddie that used to be with us with Kelly and James and them. He moved over to Alameda and Cold Spring. So when I go visit him, Danny, that's DJ Class, he lives on the corner. I meet Danny. He's 15, 16, I'm 16, 17, whatever, right? And by that time, both my parents told you they was old. They both had passed away. My mother died when I was 8, and my father died when I was 15. So after that, and I was living with people, but I was doing whatever. And so we was around there at Eddie's house, and Danny, he said, Danny DJ. I said, hey, DJ's around. He said, they did Danny around the corner. Danny comes around. I got my stuff. Danny says, we had a little contest. He says that I beat his brains in, right? It's just that I had been around people that were more advanced than people he had been around. But I met him then, like in 85. So that's how he ended up on Unruly and doing a lot of classic stuff at first because I had that relationship with him.
So can we run down the roster, the Unruly, official
God.
Unruly roster?
Charisma.
All right.
Who you know is in house. He's the
Yes,
number one
sir.
house person now, period.
That's a fact.
All right. Class.
Okay.
Griffin Boo.
Right.
Big Red Cool Breeze.
Right.
Sean.
Right.
Me.
Right.
Who else? Cornbread did a record on there.
Okay.
I'm just trying to like visualize the labels. K Life did a couple things with us.
That's a fact.
Man, I don't want to miss nobody. Jeez.
Ain't Quicksilver? Was Quicksilver on?
He did mixed CDs.
Okay.
Did a couple mixed CDs.
Got you.
Reggie, same thing.
Okay,
Rob Braxton,
that's
same
11.
thing.
That's 12.
Spice, same thing.
13.
Of course, you know what's the name ended up having a whole run. K Swift.
That's a fact.
Charles Fields, was a rave DJ. He did a couple of remixes for us. He was huge. He was the remember
I
when
was getting into rave music,
but no, he did Baltimore-ish
like
thing
a club rave type of vibe.
like he was at
I want to hear that.
You remember on Thursday down at Paradise when they had the rave parties?
Yeah.
They were his parties. The
Get
Thursday,
outta
and
here.
they were the biggest money nights they had.
Yo, can you send me some of those records?
It's not. I will. It's not way off the stuff that you already know.
I just want to hear.
That's why his rave parties got big because he was playing Baltimore music. And
Gotcha.
he was promoting the party at first, and then he became a DJ, and then he became worldwide.
Right.
But no, like Friday was big. Friday averaged 1,600 at the Paradise people. Saturday was in, except they had an event. Sunday stopped. Thursday averaged 3,000 people. $20 a head, and Sunday was averaging once a month was averaging 2,000.
3,000 people at $20 a head.
High as hell.
God.
High as hell.
Damn.
They had what they had an issue with. This is what I heard. That some of the kids would be high and walk out to the railroad track and lay down, and the damn train would hit them.
Wow. Yeah, you. I don't know how you would prevent that, like without putting up a big gigantic gate. But at 3,000 heads a week at $20 a head, I would build a fence myself, so I could keep that money ball rolling in. That's insane. All right, okay. Wow, y'all got so much. All right, so let's go into K Swift. When was your first time you met this young lady? And like, can you kind of describe the journey of mentorship with her?
The first time I met her was she went through a period early where a lot of different people managed her, right? And first person, everybody claims they did. A lot of people claim they managed her, like on back vision, but or had a part of what she did. Like my God, Tony says it. Will Rock and them say it. The guy, Troy Brown, he has some records out, but he say it. I know he did, right? I remember seeing her, my friend Warren, he had something to do with it. I think tried to get her. He eventually got her into, I think, what's that one used to be at Washington Boulevard? Twilight Zone.
Wow.
And
I haven't even heard of that in so long.
and it's funny. She would tell a story when me and Sean and Charisma had a show on V103.
Mm-hmm.
She worked at Kenny Rogers Chicken next door in the shopping center. She said, "Man, I used to see y'all coming here every damn Friday." Like she would told that story. Like, "You should come in that store every Friday." That's when I first saw you. She said, "You ain't had no idea." She said, "I wasn't nobody. You know what I mean? I wasn't even DJing, I don't think yet." And that was kind of like, and you know, we tried to clamp on her after a while, and she didn't want to do it because she was dealing with Rod.
Mm-hmm.
And Rod started running with her, and I don't know, you know, she wanted to keep getting music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people don't understand she didn't make music.
Right.
So she wanted to keep close to Rod because he had music.
And for clarification purposes, Rod Lee, right?
Yeah.
That's another one. Just damn Rod Lee, man. Rod Lee had his hands in so much stuff.
Starting at this point to when we talking. Okay,
Wow.
like the late 90s.
Right.
So and so his history starts like, and his impact starts right now, right where we at. So she started like being close to him, and we wanted to get close to her. And she kind of was political, like nice, but didn't want it, right? And I even went, she was under contract to Troy Brown for management. So I said, well, you know what? Troy said she not dealing with him no more, period. She didn't want to deal with us, but we wanted her. And Rod technically didn't have nothing with her. I said, Troy, we're going to buy that out for about $100 or maybe $1 or whatever. It was just something stupid, right? So I showed it to her, right? At some point, right? I said, yo, there's nothing wrong with us.
Right.
We want you. You under Troy. We bought this. It was something she was mad, right? She ain't like what happened. And eventually, you know, we not beefing about nothing. We just balled it up.
Right.
You know, F it, she don't want to do it. There's no point.
Right.
So she kept rolling with Yo. And then at some point, they had disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
And they had just some business disagreement. And then we weren't making as much music. So we had agreements with Rod to be able to license his.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing that before we was dealing with her. And then it continued after.
Right.
And she eventually wanted to do something different. And at that point, we were dealing with DTLRs too, and we were ordering music. So it became very beneficiary on a lot of levels to start doing exclusives of them CDs just in DTLR. It made business sense for her. It made way business sense for them because when we had a new CD, they had 1,000 people running to DTLRs for a reason.
Facts.
And then on the way out, see some shoes and buy them.
Facts.
So, and then for us, it had our hand both in the DTLR music department and street music, still being some kind of influence. And that's really was the whole thing with that.
Word. That's so deep.
You
now,
know, we paid her in advance, right? Because we knew after like the first or second one, we paid in advance for the whole amount. So we knew they would sell.
right. That's deep. That's deep. So one of the things that makes Unruly the it label, it almost becomes the La Face of Baltimore to a certain thing, is you guys learn the importance of distribution and being connected to large financial sources. So you're having that backing of DTLR gives you a national reach, but then also understanding how to get stuff into. Y'all used to have stuff in Best Buys. Y'all used to have stuff in all of the record stores, and then
That was Liaison
word.
distribution that got us into those.
Got you. So you partnered up with them.
We were with them from the beginning.
Wow.
Because what they used to do, when we used to work in the stores, we used to order records from them. They started off being a promotion entity. They used to do promo for Big Beat Records.
Mm.
Eventually, Big Beat had Lil Kim, but this was way
Way before that,
like
right.
Joe Manda, if anybody knows who they are, which they may or may not, but they ended up being a big dance act. And they're actually the ones that made it big enough where Big Beat ended up being distributed by Atlantic. Anyway, what's name? Liaison got into selling records. And then at some point, we ordered from them, so our records started going through them. And they taught us a lot about publishing and distributorship, and we still deal with them.
Got you. So, Dookie Man told us a story, and he was really referencing the large record stores. There were the two main record stores in downtown Baltimore that DJs would take their records to, and then these particular gentlemen would get the club music to Jersey, to Chicago, and the places all over the country. I wish I could remember.
It's 3 of them.
Correct. Please give me the understanding.
Music Liberated.
There you go.
Sound of Baltimore.
There you go.
Inner City Records.
Okay.
I worked for all 3 of them.
Got you. And the owner of the centerpiece of this whole thing
At this point, at that late 90s,
yeah,
is Music Liberated, is Bernie.
Right.
Now, that was the first. He used to have 4 stores. He had a store, the store that Dookie Man talking about is at Park in Saratoga. That's the first record store I ever worked at, right, in the 80s. Then he had one in Mondawmin, so I worked at both of them when I was young. Right?
Yes, I used to see you there when I was a kid.
He had the joint Mondawmin about where DTLR is now, like the right side of DTLR. It was a huge for a record store, but it was on that second level, down the hall from Metro.
Y'all used to be all the way at the end where the Popeyes and all them is now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No. That's the first floor.
Oh, okay.
There used to be 4 record stores in Mondawmin.
You're right. Used to be Sam Goody's.
No, way before that. Way
before that? Damn. All right. Well,
Music Liberated was like what DTLR is, right? Metro was down there where now it's just 2 doors that go to outside. Like if you stand in front of DTLR, you look to the right and it goes all the way toward where the Marshalls was. That was a row of stores, but Metro was right there, right? And then where Sam Goody was, right? That was a record store at one point. It was something else. Downstairs, it was something else near like where the waterfall is, right? And there was another one. It was so many damn record stores in that mall, and all of them made money.
All of them made money. That's how crazy it was. So, Dookie Man told a story of how, you guys made so much money being able to print. Bernie could get them out to different markets, which helped break club music nationally. So did you end up developing a relationship with Bernie to distribute outside of Baltimore, or you guys did it on your own?
Bernie didn't distribute outside of Baltimore.
Okay.
Bernie, see, at that point, the record store thing was drying up kind of for vinyl.
Got you.
And Music Liberated was starting to get a big reputation outside of Baltimore. He had a lot of the dudes coming from out. What Bernie was doing, he had a lot of customers from the East Coast. And they would come and buy just because they knew that the Baltimore vinyls were centered there. And that's how, like, Bernie wasn't going to let nobody outside make no money on them records because he knew that vinyl was hard to come by. He didn't sell a lot of stuff besides vinyl either. So it was kind of worked on both ends. And he understood that. I mean, he was in business from the 60s in that space. And it ain't a person ain't no nut more than Bernie. That's for sure, right? Word. And so he knew that was coming. And so he didn't sell outside, but he made it where people, he had customers from up and down the East Coast coming for them damn records. So he, in a sense, did distribute outside of Baltimore, but he made them come to him.
Right.
And he was the centerpiece. He understood that. That was becoming a very niche thing. And it almost was like going to Mecca or something at that point for vinyls, for DJs, like rave DJs, everybody else. They had to come if they wanted that, they had to go to that store and get it.
Word. So, what was your relationship like once you started your own label and you're being distributed by Liaison and you're creating your own stuff? Was it like, all right, we cool? I'm gonna sell you some crates and keep it
No, but
moving?
no,
Or?
but we did ours way before Bernie got into that.
Got you.
You know, he was still worried about just being a record store,
Right.
and it sold everything.
Mm-hmm.
And nah, man, we was all cool. Bernie was good with us. If he wanted records, we sold it to him.
Okay.
And we had some business dealings with Bernie
Got you.
as far as music, because you know after a while people started, we own this song, y'all, and whatever. We're not giving it to you. Bernie won't put it out. Tell Bernie get it from us, right?
Right.
And so we let him, we'd sell him, give him a rights license, I guess, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Here, give us $100, put it out if you want, right, or whatever.
Okay. So the next question. All right. Dookie Man stated that after the death of Bernie, it seemed to be a huge hole kind of in the scene as far as music moving. And he was saying that was like the beginning of the decline for club music. What would be your perspective on?
I would say that he's partially right. I'm not what he's saying is 100% right, but that's only a part of the reason.
Okay.
And that's a part of it. I just think that it had a run. You know, there was a time when from 9 till 2 or 4, whatever, you heard only that in a club.
Mm-hmm.
Only that in cars.
Mm-hmm.
Only that in school. You know, only that in the headphones and on the bus sitting next to somebody. I mean, it just was nonstop. And I think it had, and I also think that hip hop was rising big time. You know what I'm saying? We've talked about the industry from 91 till say 2000. You know, what happened in the night? People reference hip hop 90s as the golden age. So I mean, of course it dented it.
Mm-hmm.
When you talking about Puffy, Biggie, Tupac, Wu-Tang, Tribe Called Quest, man, I mean, come on, it's endless. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of it. It had a competition, right?
Facts.
And it ended up being a point where people wanted to hear hip hop in clubs too. You know what I mean? Because at that point they didn't, and then it came back in, and almost became the underdog. And you know, people always root for the underdog. So that 20-minute hip hop set almost became why people came to the clubs after a while.
That's true.
And
But also, it was the time period where, like you said, there was no social media, there was no streaming. So when the new Method Man record or the new Redman record or the new Jay-Z record came out, you either going to hear it on the radio, and then even then, they weren't trying to play the underground stuff.
see it on the
club,
box.
right? Or see it on the box. The club was the only place you could go touch it and experience that record in a crispy. Once again, Baltimore was a time period where all of the clubs had crispy sound systems, really great sound, so you could come and hear this. It's like you in a studio. You know what I mean, with them while the record is being played. But okay, I definitely understand. Was there any other components that you would say that you could add to the death?
Well,
I'm not gonna say death because club music is having a resurgence right now.
Right.
But it definitely died down from the prominence.
I just think that it's like a market correction.
Right.
You know, it's just eventually it goes back. It's almost like I say about even DJs' careers. Like you might have a high point, and then you like. You're not the hottest guy no more, but you're not any weaker. And as a matter of fact, you're probably better than you used to be. Mm-hmm. Why are they listening to him and not me so much? Because everything has a thing, and then it goes back to a thing where you're going to, instead of this one thing you did for 2 years, you're going to do this other level for 20 years. I mean, you understand? And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of every DJ that went through that period in their life where they don't understand that, and they jive better. And some of them never got out of it, and some of them understood it and made that work real well. You know, and some of them you got taught, they done fought each other over and everything to where they, at some point where they understood, well, this is how it's supposed to be, and let me take advantage of that space.
Right, correct.
And you can, you know what I'm saying? But it's just things just correct themselves, and if they were of real quality, they'll have a life. You know what I mean? Like that music has a life because it meant something to people. And if it didn't, it would just felt like you wouldn't even think about ever, not even for a 60-year-old person or a 6-year-old person to ever play that. But of course, we know it's not like that. You have your places and times where you play it. So it's just part of it. Like, you know, K Swift was a DJ. K Swift didn't invent club music. K Swift was a big advocate for club music, right? She was, because guess what? People paid her for that. Like, not because she didn't want to do it. It worked for her. You know what I'm saying? Like, she liked it, and people liked that she liked it and were willing to pay. And she played it, and she became a big advocate. And for some of the producers too, right? That some of they didn't take advantage of it, but they benefited from her being in that space to where that's who she was. And the fact that she was a girl, a woman DJ, inspired a lot of other women to become DJs. I think, but even to be honest, more than club music, because there was club music before her and there was club music after, and she didn't make any. I think her biggest thing was she made women feel like they were on the same level as dudes DJ, or they could be, right? I mean, before she passed, I don't know if people know, most don't. She didn't want to distance herself from club music, but she wanted to level out her profile as far as the music that she played, meaning that she wanted to take that term club queen off of her website and just be K Swift.
Right.
People know I play club music. They already know that. But also play others. She was also banging hip hop like crazy already. So it was like she just wanted to be a little bit more level.
She had a record label. She was trying to develop hip hop talent. So, she was trying to put MCs out. Like, she was doing all. I remember them, discussions of them saying that she was like working on a label deal where she could like do distribution and the whole. I mean, getting artists in and get them on and stuff like that.
It would have been a problem for her because she was on the radio, and it would have been that down the road they would have made her quit one or the other,
right? Because
it would have been like almost a payola thing or a conflict of interest. Somebody would have got mad. The label would have been mad. The FCC, 92Q, other people would have complained. You know what I'm saying? It would have been an issue, for her. But, we had the thing where we had a last CD. We put it out through E1, but she passed. Really, the deal was there before she passed, and then she passed. And we had the CD, and we put it out. And we couldn't really promote it so much because she wasn't there to promote it.
Right.
But that was that. I mean,
That's big. So a Baltimore club DJ gets distribution with E1. Wow. And that's before they really started going big time, because they went probably like 3 or 4.
It was Koch before that.
It was Koch
and
before
they
that. So they were on a run. Yeah, because around that time, that's when Dipset got over there, and all these people started moving over to E1, and that's when I feel like the independent hip hop movement started to get its birth really into the mainstream. Let me say it like that.
What was a good thing, it was always good, but the problem with them is she passed and she couldn't promote.
Right.
We were the label. She was signed to us. We were signed to them. Right. She couldn't, be DJing places, promoting it. And, E1 thing was they paid more because they did not promote. So we were stuck with a project that wasn't going to be able to be properly promoted, period. Right. Even though we had an ad in like Fader.
Right.
Because that's when that hipster thing was big with club music. We had to add in Fader, a big full page joint and all that. But I mean, that was 1 month, and next month it was going to be a different
something else.
So it was like it kind of was a bad timing and limbo thing. I mean, look, a death is always bad.
Especially when you're trying to take her national. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, she's going to do well in Baltimore. But then once you transition out of this region, it's going to be tough because nobody's familiar with her. And if they can't touch her, hear her voice, and have her do the pitch, it's going to be almost impossible.
At that point, music is artist marketing.
Correct.
And we absolutely had zero
artist marketing
because of the way it was all set up and the way unfortunate things happened.
Word.
We really sold not too many more than we did of the ones that would just sit in DTLR.
Wow.
To be honest. And but it was just a shame the way all that just went down. Personally, it just was.
So let's dip back. So there is a point where Unruly has influence, they start tangling their web of influence in the music game outside of club. So Tim Trees was on here yesterday. He mentions the fact that, he worked with Unruly and Liaison to put Dalton Volume 1 out.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that come about? Like, did you guys just hear about the record and...
Well, I mean, everybody knows Bankroll.
Right, of course.
So, Rod Lee, and what we would do is a lot of things that we would get you, everybody, it was, there were no record stores, basically, at that point. And everything, a lot of stuff became cross-marketing, lifestyle, that's what they call it now, right? Like, a record store got a clothing store got an in-store with a music person, with T.I. Well, I mean, that sounds stupid, right? 5 years before that, like, it doesn't even make any damn sense. But we were selling music in a clothes store.
Right.
So that's how that whole concept of lifestyle marketing came about. And now that's a normal thing for every retailer in the world. Mm-hmm. But it started with us doing that. Mm-hmm. And that's really a Sean Caesar thing. Like, he understands that stuff. And like he kind of could see that coming. And so he said, well, why don't we press and distribute your music, Rod, talking about that, knowing that 90% of it is, we're going to send it to Liaison, but we're just going to have them send it back to us.
Right.
And they'll hold a few. If they get some requests outside, then it's there. But this is how that's going to work, because then everybody can get paid faster too, because it's going to sell out day one, because it's selling out from the distributor day one. People don't understand when they don't get paid right away for everything they sell to a distributor. A lot of it has to do with they go to the places that they sold to, find out how many sitting there compared to how many you sold. You're not, like, if you have 10 CDs and you sold 7 and you have 3 sitting in inventories, you're getting paid for 4. And then it, like, for like the first, people don't understand of course it's way different today because digital, but back then, like, when you didn't really start seeing anything till you sold half of your items that are out there, and then it's felt like you were getting paid double for the ones after that.
Right.
Because you had the 7 and 3, you getting paid for 4. You had 8 and 2, you getting paid for 6. And you only sold 1. You know what I'm saying? So it's after the 5 or 4 or 5 when it's kind of, and plus you're talking about recoups on things, right. But how they always end up doing how it's sold was not what sold versus what you gave them, but what sold minus from what's still there in inventory.
So, for clarification purposes, because I feel like I understand this, and I could be wrong. So, the reason why they pay you that certain amount, the reason why they pay you 4 instead of the complete 7, is that they want to leave money in the account just in case those CDs get returned.
Exactly.
And they have to return the money to the retailer.
And everything has a whatever day net. Right. So you gotta be careful with that. Like, it's a 30-day net, a 90-day net, a 180 day, 6 months, whatever, right?
Right.
So you don't want to be busy paying out money back to people that something gets sold, or you paid for something and then something get returned and all that kind of mess. You need a little time for the stuff to look like it's settled. Mm-hmm. Okay, they sold 6. It's been X amount of days. Okay, right, or whatever. So that's a lot. Anyway. So going back to the Tim Trees and all that. We did a lot of those different things with artists, especially local artists. We started pressing that stuff for them, going through Unruly, giving to Liaison, having them giving right back to us, and holding a few. For other, maybe it's a corner store in East Baltimore want to sell KG CD. Right. So it was something there for them to sell to them, But we had the bulk, so we kind of could tell how it was selling or whatever.
And because y'all had just your fingers on the pulse with all of the DJs you had in your network and everybody around you.
And we could do little in-stores for the artists in their neighborhood. Like KG had an in-store, Sedonia DTLR. I mean, stuff like that really, really worked. Mm-hmm. And, now we're doing, when you see CDs now, if like you go on eBay and you want to get an old CD and they don't make it anymore, they still make them. What they do is, they call it CD on demand. Like, man, I went and ordered a Martin Circus CD. Anybody, if they heard it this old, they would know what the song is. But it's from the 70s. I wanted a digital copy. I wanted something that I could put in Wave and like play out. It would sound good.
Right.
Instead of keep recording my record, which I
Right.
did 100 times. But I go on there. He's got a brand new one. It's 2018. How the hell does he have a brand new Martin Circus? I don't give a damn. It's $10. I buy it, right?
Right.
But it say it may take 30 days to get to you. And then
Gotcha.
I asked, like, yo, you got Martin Circus, you got E2, E4, you got Modern Romance, you used to hold me. See, I mean, how do you got these CDs brand new? He said, they CD on demand. And then Sean used to always talk about that, and then I understood it. So we had a Gunner in store. Gunner's label didn't make CDs, but we had a CD sign. How do we got CDs at Gunner? We do CD on demand with labels, right? So if we have an in-store, we might get them to make 2,000 or 3,000.
Right.
Sell them just at that event, that's it, and then return or whatever.
Wow.
So there is a physical, but all that stemmed from doing these deals with Rod or whoever for their artists, and if they're willing to, be part. If of course, it depends on the artist. We probably wouldn't have them asking for no upfront money for Tim Trees because it's going to be okay. The CD goes up, but some people they using this to get out the gate.
Right.
Tim Trees was already down the road. You know what I'm saying?
He was hot.
So some people they might have to put a little bit toward it, but it worked. You know what I'm saying? For them, and it's just whatever.
Word. So then after Tim, you have Davon, and then after that you have Paula Campbell. Now Paula Campbell says she got a deal with an indie in the area, and then they
Columbia.
No, before the Columbia deal, because she put the first album out on her own.
Right.
So she said she was dealing with an indie guy whom got her record out. Then they doubled back and gave her the Columbia deal. So and then from there comes Boss Man, I believe, and Boss Man is through you guys. Well, excuse me, through Liaison, through you.
Yeah.
Or however y'all want to say it. And that was to me. I felt like that was a bigger success because. And no disrespect, it was a different type of success than Tim Trees because I felt like his was more organized. Like they had way more. They had the mixtape stuff, and then they came out with an official album.
Well, Boss Man, that was Northeast Kings.
Correct.
Northeast Kings understood business from the letter B because of experience. Now, when we was busy doing the direct drive record pool, they sponsored them, a lot of them. They understood that. They understood stuff I didn't understand, right? We had a pool meeting down in Paradise. They sponsored. They had something. They got a bunch of tables set out in the main room with different cards and whatever. They really understood that stuff. I even forget some of the dudes, but Boss Man was a part of that, right? So he understood business. Right. You know what I'm saying? He understood marketing and branding before they was even words. They were doing that stuff. And this is, and then he ended up with a deal with Jermaine Dupri.
Correct.
And,
Virgin.
And whatever points he was releasing stuff on either side of that, he understood. He already, like, whatever we were doing or had to do with Liaison or put them in he understood all that, and that's why he rode with it. He understood what business was at the time. Like dudes like that, they're easy to work with.
Right.
Everybody wants to get paid.
Facts.
And some people understand why you get paid a certain amount, or what don't work, what do work, why it sound like you making all this money, but you're really not because it's all around the world, but nobody buying nothing. It's music nowadays. But when dudes understand business, they easy work with. You know what I mean? There's a difference between disappointment and being mad thinking you made some money, but you really didn't. You know what I'm saying? Dudes like Boss Man, I'm telling you, Northeast Kings, when it came to business, was way, way ahead of their time. Like, they understood that stuff. They almost kind of like were hand in hand, like, almost kind of like was on the same road. And, like, it's almost like they told us, well, why don't we give you some money for this pool meeting? You let us put this stuff on these tables. Oh, okay. Like yeah. Yeah. This is business. Like we thing was we wasn't never businessmen.
Right.
Never.
You guys were artists who were in love with creating and getting
dudes.
people
we
to connect.
Still music dudes.
Right.
To this day. You know
right.
what I mean? We never made business decisions really.
Right. Well, every time that I've I've had the pleasure of being around you or had a chance to sit with Sean. It never felt like I'm having a business meeting or I'm in a room of business people. I always felt like this was like people who love music the same way we love music. You know, and you guys are just lucky enough to be able to provide opportunities for other people to get their music out and to build a crowd and to build a career.
But we still trying to do the same thing. We still sitting there talking about music now. We still really, right now, we're about to throw a lot of stuff out there. New, old, new, just different stuff. And we really we got a little part of it that's going to be classics and a little part
That's gonna be
that
new.
new. We're going to see.
I love that.
Just see what this do.
I love that. I love that. Well, I feel like once again, even in this journey of this conversation, unruly plays a huge part in our lives, whether we know it or not. I'm talking about me as a consumer, not you. I mean, it played a big part in your life too, but as a consumer, like I danced to those songs in clubs. I bought the CDs, when the 2 hot seconds I might have been a DJ, we bought the vinyl. As a Baltimorean, there's no way if you're into the culture of hip hop in club, it becomes ubiquitous. I have CDs upon CDs and stuff that you guys distributed. I'll show you. So like I feel like you need to, as a company, celebrate the history, tell the stories, re-release the vinyl, even if it's not physical vinyl, release CDs or a playlist or something, because I need to be able to tell my children, like right now, I don't know where to send my little cousin and be like, yo, let me tell you all the club records we used to dance to. Cause like when I talk club to him, it's gonna be completely different than what it was when we was in the 90s.
You know what? What's funny? You used the word. I swear to God, the only time I've ever seen that word and the only relation that word got in my life. What word do you think I'm getting ready to say? It's a word you use in that when you just something that a lot of people would never say. They don't even know what it is.
Celebrate or commemorate or
Starts with a vowel.
Man,
starts with a U.
I totally forgot. I was in
right?
ubiquitous. Okay.
Do you know our only connection in my life? Only time I've ever seen that word.
Where?
Roy Ayers. Now the name of
Really?
the album. We just
The
music
jazz
people.
musician.
we just music people.
I met Roy Ayers once.
No.
He came down to Dimensions of Music across the street from your spot when
Larry.
Yep, Larry Jeter. That used to be my old boss. I'm getting him on the show too. I'm working on getting him. I haven't seen him in so long.
You ain't gonna have enough time in your life to get because he just been involved in music so much.
So long, right? But he used to when jazz musicians used to drop albums, they would come and they would do a private show on his second floor. He had a little sound system, and he had that huge record collection up there, and he would invite special guests to come. And then Roy Ayers came through one night. I'm starstruck. I got my little button-down shirt, and he forced me to wear a tie, and I'm like serving up wine and finger foods and stuff like that. And I got to watch him perform. It was an amazing thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there were so many experiences. I'm sorry, I ain't mean to take you off to the left.
No, what are you talking about? No,
when you say Roy Ayers, like, I mean, I'm a huge jazz fan. My dad was a huge jazz fan, so like I end up getting into jazz a lot. And I've back when I first got into hip hop, there was so much jazz influence in hip hop with the Tribe Called Quest and this and that and the third. So like that was my kind of easy gateway in. And then I fell in love with hardcore gangster rap music. I don't know how the hell that happened, but that's how we get into it. But yeah, man, like I completely understand. But there is such an important, it is so important that I feel like for the growth of me and the generation coming behind is education. They need to know.
You know what's lost? What's lost is, and I'm sure there's a replacement for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not nothing we would like, but is just the tangibility of a lot of stuff. Like, when you see Straight Outta Compton movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're touring that album. And younger people hear older people, they always got a story that relates to that, like, that almost spoils their moment of seeing it. Like, when that album came out and that tour was out, the dude was 1989, right? The dude that owned Godfrey's owned the tour in Baltimore, right? Because that's how they I don't know what they do now, but when they had them big tours like that, they solicit them to promoters and club owners in different cities, and that's how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, NWA show was supposed to have been at Godfrey's. Now you're talking about a place that holds max packed in there 1,800 people. So obviously, that just got so damn big. It was just going to be them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they added Public Enemy, they added Kid and Play, they added blah 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 blah, right? And whatever that tour, I mean, they planned it for this month, a few months ahead, right?
Right.
So that thing was supposed to have been in a damn club, so that wasn't going to fly at the wild, right? So they had it at the arena, and I had to leave the arena early. Of course, I got in free, right? I wasn't backstage or nothing, but we had to go up there because there was supposed to be something up at Godfrey's afterwards. So
Right.
we leave, the whole Eazy-E, all them, everything you saw, like that kind of atmosphere, I experienced that thing with my hands. Like, they blocked off Charles Street, starting at the train station, because Godfrey's was in the 1700 block where the Charles Theater is. Charles Theater was still there.
Gotcha.
Godfrey's was about, if you go past the Charles Theater walking north to the end part of the Charles Theater, like window, it was the second floor, almost the whole block.
Wow.
You would go up steps. Everybody would always say the steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole block. So they blocked off Charles Street from there all the way up to North Avenue, almost 3 blocks. For them to have a motorcade, they was sitting, Eazy-E, all them, Ice Cube, and Flavor Flav, all them, they sitting on top of limousines riding up Charles Street, The whole damn thing blocked off with people lined up for blocks and blocks and blocks. I mean, come on. Young people don't experience that no more. It's been so long, like stuff like that. And then, of course, they come in.
Of course.
They come in, and
And everybody's having the time of their life. It's a life-changing moment.
Latifah, when her first out, like the guy said, he would always say, Scotty, who should I bring in here? Because they had a little stage. They was known for shows. He would always want somebody, of course, that he could pay the least and make the most out of.
Facts.
Hip-hop then had an underground element.
Mm-hmm.
So Latifah was on Tommy Boy, didn't start off on a major label, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chubb Rock, Select, didn't start off on a major, right? Special Ed, Profile, a mid-major.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not a mid-major, but it was a major minor,
Independent.
right? A
Right.
major independent. So all of them was there. EPMD was there. It was Latifah. I said, get Latifah. We play that all the time, right? Her album, we play songs off the album all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big record. So, and this is when Ladies First was out. Right when it was out, he said, I said, put Moni Love and 45 King, because he was the producer. I said, put it on the flyer. They ain't even gonna know if they there or not, right? He puts them all on the flyer, right? They all come. They all come. When it's 3,000 people in this club, right? People fall, no air. They falling out. People in there fainting and stuff, right? When they start singing, because, at that point, then everybody was hyped up about Moni Love because she was new.
Mm-hmm.
When her verse get ready start, like the hook is coming, they know she get ready start, right? So many people, and the stage is high as this, so you right, I mean, that kind of, people don't know none of that kind of stuff. They right in front of her, like literally. Like you touch her, you can put your hand past her. That's how close you were to the artists, right? The mic cuts off. And, I mean, they caught because people are so loud in front of her, zapping out, that the mic's cut off. And she's saying it without the mic. Like loud. It's like an unbelievable moment. And then eventually the mic comes back in,
on.
right? And she just continues. But they really showed up for nothing. Like, he only paid them like $3,000 and charged her for transportation. And he's the one that took her back and forth. Right? He was one of them dudes, right? Hotel, everything, 3,000 all in, performance, all that. Chubb Rock, same thing, because it caught up, was big at Godfrey. Really made that record and made his career. So then he had 2,500 people in there to see him, and and you could touch them dudes. You know what I'm saying? Cool Seat. This was when Glamorous Life was at its peak. And you know how big that record was.
That's a smash.
Christmas night at Godfrey's. Christmas night performing that record. Do you know how many people was? And it snowed. Look at that. I'm going to tell you how crazy it was. Me and my dude Warren, we walking up Charles Street. We go somewhere, get us order some food, like a steak or something, like a real slick joint. They was gonna take too long. We said we needed to go. Right. We walks up Charles Street. We get there. The line, and the sidewalk real thick, almost thick as this room.
Right.
Going. It was a line a block long on both sides of the door and including in front of the door, right? Police come and it's snowing. We outside eating because we can't even get in and we the DJs. The police come and say, if y'all not going to open this club right now, this is closed.
Right.
It's too many people. It's a street. It's
Right.
not blocked off. It's the cars.
Public safety, yeah.
We shutting this down. They said, how we going to open the door? They in front of it. You know they had to take the doors off the hinges from the inside and take the doors off and then start letting people in.
Why couldn't people just back up so they could open the door?
They wasn't going to do it.
They weren't going to
It's
do
Baltimore. You tell people move, they not moving. I remember on the Easter down there, Easter 1989, I remember the line being for the girls from that front door all the way, that thick, past the Landville, all the way past the train station. And for the boys, all the way up to North Avenue and around, as big as the sidewalk to Odell's and almost, and then another branch of it went up Lafayette somewhere, and this was an hour before the damn club's supposed to open. It was that was some days, but them artists and you really like that NWA. I was part of that. Like I remember just like watching them go past in a limo, sitting on top of a car.
Word. See, but you for that time period for you, that was the golden moments. But for me, it was being in Paradox and hearing Miss Tony screaming and hearing Pork Chop do his thing and watching these DJs. These people were the celebrities to us. That's what I'm saying. So like even like Tim Trees, he's a celebrity to me. I'm 40 years old. I have butterflies in my stomach. He's sitting next to me, and I'm like,
I remember when Miss Tony. The biggest thing for me was two things, right? I remember him actually, of course, he was down the Hammerjacks singing that song all the time, right? But when he had the show to sing that song, like, if you think about it, it's like, you really went from just being on the mic singing the same song here to actually having a show here. That's almost impossible. That's almost because people wouldn't respect it, really, because you already just sang it on the damn mic down here, just being MC, right?
Right.
But it was like, it was just such a moment just to see that. And then one time he was at 5th Regiment Armory or something, and he had a show at 5th Regiment Armory, like, oh, this thing is on another level. Like, I'm just glad that they respecting you as an MC just for saying this stuff. Like, it was bananas.
It was different. And then like I've had the blessing of being, on the stage and seeing YG Tech perform and Blue Benjamin Sleepy, and I'm watching the crowd. They are rapping every word that he's saying.
That's why I like that new stuff.
It's the 200-300 people in the room. It's like a small little venue, and they packed in there, and they know all of the lyrics. I mean, and in that moment, I said I'm seeing the birth of a different generation, a different time period. But as much as these guys are becoming real celebrities, you gotta remember that what you guys created was the some of the blueprint and the base for that. And a lot of those things we have to make sure that we keep, intact. Like that logo that y'all created is insane. Like that's once again, it's ubiquitous. Like wherever you go, if you're from Baltimore, it becomes a common part of your existence. You see that mouth, and that's unruly, and you may not know that it's Sean Caesar and Scottie B, but you know that it's associated with DTLR. It's associated with these different celebrities.
You know what people a lot of times say? Like, didn't you used to be with Unruly? Oh, yep. Thank goodness for them. I'm sorry, yep. They had a little charity in their pocket. You know what? I say this, right? I say this. I think the one thing that I'll say that we might would have did was we made people believe that they could put out a record, like a physical. Now, of course, it's not, but it's still kind of same. Like, how y'all put out a record? Like that's some impossible line to cross. Like, well, it kind of felt that way, right? But I mean, save up $1,000 or whatever, and put it out.
Put it out,
and that's it. I mean, it's not hard. You do the music, You pay them their money, and the records come in the mail. It's what you think is. You know what? When you grow up, and we thought that way too. And thing I be trying to tell people from Baltimore is this get to be something social, right? But is I think that we kind of believe that there are some things that are not accessible for us. You know what I'm saying? And like even in New York, it's not that way. And because the poorest person that looks the most unlike the richest person still sees that person, or still sees people that do look like them that maybe did get something. It kind of ain't like that in Baltimore and some places like Baltimore, right? And I do understand that it just seems like that's just something that we don't do, and them kind of like constraints mentally, and so I get it. And I thought that too. Just I swear you're gonna think this crazy, right? There was a time I was working out of PG County, and I was in my 30s, and alongside of this stuff we talk, all this music stuff, and you know, kids were a little bit more advanced in their life experience was better, right? And I didn't graduate from school, and I only really did this, and there's a lot of stuff I ain't doing in my life, and I lived check to check my whole life, and just, you know, like I said, my parents, whatever, nobody don't need to worry about my sob story, right? But because I've been blessed, period, with a lot of other things, but kids was coming in there, right, with resumes and listen to Lil Wayne, listen to who I'm like it really changed my mentality about things. Like we could be going past them physical borders that we really, and they really not even physical, they mental.
They mental, right?
Like I look crazy to these kids. Like I'm in my 30s, and I don't think they think way past me at 16. Like they got resumes and you need something else, and they got that, and I don't even never had that. Like I don't even think that way. I wouldn't even. If somebody said something like that, that shut me down. I'd be over, right? Like I don't even know that stuff. And kids in Baltimore are like, I birthed, like my generation birthed that same mentality. Like we not helping. You know what I'm saying? When we think that, and I said these kids, I'm telling kids I be around, I said these kids listen to the same music you do, look like you, and wear the same shit y'all wear. They really on a different, like they think different. Like when they listen to that same stuff, and that way they think the same, but there's another part of them that think different. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that we didn't mean to do that, putting out a record. I mean, we thought that same way. It was going to be that. It was nothing else next. It was almost like life's progression marches toward us, and then said, damn, you sitting on top of it, there is nothing else to do.
Right.
You done made the tracks, you done DJed in these damn places and made all this exposure for yourself. There is nothing else to do.
Right.
It's right there in your face. Are you going to turn around and walk away? I mean, there's nothing else to do. You made the track, you play it on a reel to reel. You can't sell that. What the hell else you going to do? There's really nothing else to do. And I think a lot of times that's the point where we just turn around and say, all right, well, we're just not going to do that because it's just not what we do. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's the one thing. If it's one thing we can say, coming from me, in my opinion, is that there was a mental barrier, and we didn't knock them all down, but we still living in some of them, right? But that we could make a song or we could make a record. There's some industry, there's stuff that you, and how is it going to be something that really you made it and you're afraid to advance it, and people asking you for it? Like you really gonna stand and tell me that's something you can't do? Is that something you can't do?
It's nothing. You should be able to do anything you set your mind to.
But then really that's yours, and you really gonna sit there and say, well, let's just go back to do something else.
I feel like what happens is, okay, so I went through an experience where I turned away from the industry and I went another direction, but there were a lot of factors involved in it. So you know, there's the feelings of being alone or feelings of not being able to. It seems like the journey in front of you is so insurmountable, and you might have spent 10 years trying to get, and you just haven't gone anywhere. You might be 15 feet from where you were 10 years before that. But you don't know that, yo, if you just keep going 10 more feet this way, there's a boat right there. You can jump on it. It'll take you 10 times faster, but you don't know that. And the thing is that without information, now we have social media. Back then, there was none of that. I didn't have the benefit of, I would say hip hop was still in its infancy stages, by the late 90s, early 2000s. We didn't get our first really retired MCs until the mid 2000s and stuff like that. And then for them to learn how to communicate their issues and their problems in a way to where the younger generation could process it and find better success. So you guys are the first generation to break. You got to remember, you guys are the first record label that dealt with that type of music in this city. So you guys took all of the arrows, y'all took all of the bullets going over the hill, so that the next generation can come behind you and do it bigger and better. Because now we have the benefit of your experiences to say, all right, we need to make sure our publishing together, because that's a whole nother revenue stream we didn't think about. Well, all right, we know we need to make sure that we have better contracts for the artists, and all right, well, we know that we need to do this and we need to do that. You know what I mean? We need to make sure that we have great relationships with DJs. We need to make sure that we have opportunities to, everything you talking about, from, the record pool meetings and the co-branding opportunities to the business relationships that you develop. Who did it before you? Nobody. So now it becomes commonplace for us to be able to take that knowledge and take it and do something bigger and better with it. But I feel like it is very important that we do not negate or forget the journey that you guys went on.
You know who else was smart with all that? It was two other people, right? Diamond K.
Yes.
Totally understands all that. He always did. Always did, right? And Precise. Like, the thing about Precise and them was, like, we totally weren't about taking pictures. Like I say, we weren't singing those songs. We wanted to be them guys that was in a DJ booth with our own stuff too, right? Precise and them understood all that back in when them first records was coming out. When they had the press pictures, like the black and white joints, Precise and the boys. That's Dookie Man. Dookie Man's one of the boys. He's Precise and the boys. That's Dookie Man. So they told where do you understand? He had that. Like,
right.
How do you? I understand. Big Daddy Kane had him, and whoever, EPMD. So Precise and them like, we should have him too, right? And that's the way that he thought. And we totally didn't think that we were stupid, right? Like we didn't. So we didn't. I'm always. I don't know if you know Lawrence Byrne. He's Pitchfork or whatever, but he put out the magazine here, right? He's always advocating for Baltimore everything, right? He said, "Who should I talk to?" Right? I said, well, you know what? I got some pictures. That damn Precise, because they had pictures of everything, right? Precise had pictures of everything. He went.
I'm gonna need to holler at him because we need it for the documentary.
You do, Precise had pictures of. Going back to the 8th, nobody got pictures. He got pictures. Pictures. Yep.
That is a blessing, bro. That's a blessing. All right, so top 5. This is your personal opinion. Top 5 top DJs from Baltimore all time. No order. They don't have to be in the order. Top 5 greatest DJs from Baltimore of all time.
Spin, me, Sean. Man,
this is deep.
It get tough.
This is deep.
Kenny K.
Okay.
Because I met Kenny K when I was about 17. Same day I met Vicious.
Right.
At a damn DJ contest they were in, and me and class were just doing the party.
Right.
Oh, God. I
Got one left, man.
Shit, man. I can't say. Man. Booby could be one of them.
I definitely would put Booby up there. Did y'all ever collaborate with Booby?
Sure.
And
he did his EP at my house.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Did he? All right, now they say he moved to Vegas. Did he move to Vegas?
Yeah. Talked to him the other day.
I'm had to catch a flight. I gotta get this interview done.
He'll be. Why don't you be? He was here the last 2 weekends.
I don't know.
I got you.
I do construction during the week.
You gotta let me do. Man, you gotta let me do more than 5. Then I could say I got space.
Let's go.
Booby, Charisma.
Right.
I said Booby, Charisma.
Okay. Wait a minute, Charisma DJ for real?
Come on, yo.
He
started.
I'm sorry, G.
He was
Don't-
the
don't
first
kill me.
DJ on. I'm getting ready to tell you something. I'm gonna kill you.
Go ahead.
He the big. I tell you, the biggest house DJ right now in the world, probably.
That's a fact.
Guess where he started?
Where?
Strictly Hip Hop EAA. He was the first DJ that did Strictly Hip Hop on EAA in the 80s.
Wow.
The first one.
Insane. I'm learning new stuff.
Yo, there's so many
I'm learning
DJs
new
in
stuff.
Baltimore. Michael Jordan was a house DJ. He was one of them dudes you be like watching him playing house, and not just blend. I mean, Tommy Davis. Man, it's so many of them, man. It's too many. It's just way too many. It really is. It's just way too many, man. Teddy Douglas. You know what? I'm gonna tell you a story. It's funny. You young, you stupid, right?
Yes, I am.
So not true. So when I first was playing at that club on Ricetown Road, when they were trying to do the house thing, Teddy was the DJ. He was one of the Basement Boys, right? It's Teddy and Tommy and Dude J. So this is before that. And first night he played, I told you we was big Spin fans. I said to somebody, man, he ain't shit, man. Talking about that, man, he's sorry, right? So I didn't understand that style of DJing he had, right? So he comes up to me, right? I heard you said I couldn't play, right? I said, man, you all right, right? But you can't fuck with Spin. He say, we two different type. We cool, me and him cool. We two different kind of DJs. He was so totally right, right? I'm young and stupid. You just saying that because you can't fuck with him. Like he's supposed to be playing in a house club, backspinning records and scratching, right? I'm just stupid, right? But I said that. And then it's funny because me and Teddy, we've been cool since that day, right? I said too much. Or I said, yeah, you remember that time when I said, I sound like a stupid ass, right? He said, he just laughs. He said, man, you ain't know. I said, man, but I'm just an ass. Well, I'm just loud and dumb.
Right.
But like Wayne, you know who the greatest music person is? It's Wayne, the Paradox. Are you going to sit there and tell me you didn't know he was a DJ too?
No, I didn't know he was a DJ.
So most people that's 50, that's 60 will
Right.
say he's the greatest DJ ever lived because Odell's got started off of Wayne Davis DJing. But guess what though? He also started the Hippo as a DJ. He was the first DJ in the Hippo in 1971, and I didn't even know that till the Hippo just closed, and they interviewed.
Yo, that is so.
He was the first DJ in the Hippo. He was the first DJ in Odell's that really got it started, right?
Wow.
Then he was the DJ in Signal, and then that party at Signal made him want to open Fantasy. So he owned Fantasy, and then he owned the Paradox. So who's the greatest music person in Baltimore City history? It's Wayne Davis.
I guess I'm with it. Is he still alive?
Of course.
You gotta lace me up, bro. You gotta lace me up. You gotta lace me up. That's some pride I got. First of all, I gotta shake his hand for the many drunken nights that I stumbled in the Paradox getting my dance on like on a Friday.
Do you know what one of my biggest inspirations was? Now I told you about my cousin worked in that club, but my cousin was a little older than me, so his circle were all Odell's people in Wayne Davis days, right? When they knew that I was trying to DJ, they would always say, "You'll never be able to fuck with Wayne Davis." That was always my at the beginning.
That was the pinnacle for you.
When I first started, that was my. Couldn't even get in there. Never heard him, right? And so that was always like something mystery shit you was trying to achieve. You ain't even know where you was going, but you knew it was somewhere where you weren't.
Right.
And then when I got to that, say Godfrey's, Frank Ski was big, like, and so he was commercial. He was on the radio. He controlled all that. I was like the first street DJ that put up numbers. Street DJ, because then the street DJs weren't in clubs making numbers. It was they were playing, and Frank Ski was doing 1,500 people every week at Super Sunday. So I was the first one that really started street DJ that started getting numbers in clubs, But of course, I wanted to hate Frank Ski like everybody else. Cuss at him, do all kind of shit, because I was stupid, right? Joe was doing his thing where he understood where he was, and I was stupid, right? And I could have never been that because I wasn't in the same place. I was in other places. And I just didn't know that. You know, I just didn't appreciate what was there and hated what wasn't and that he had. But, you know, you learn, I mean, we really good friends, so, you know, it's just stupid.
I'm about to say, but you guys ended up going, the purpose in your lives was completely different. Because what you were able to do was legendary, and what he was able to do was legendary. So like, I feel like the two, that's like oil and water. You know what I mean? Or
Oh,
apples
it
and oranges.
absolutely no, it absolutely was, because
You know.
he look, he went to college. I'm not saying, he went to college. He was a different person. He was a little more refined. He had different experience, and I was a street kid, and I was ignorant, and I was cuss and say whatever out my mouth and fuck you, and didn't think it mattered the next day, and it totally did. You know what I'm saying? You a whore, you a bitch, this, that. That dude could, put me out. I could go to a club of his, and he could. I don't give a fuck who you can put me out in the mix because I wanted to act stupid toward him. You know what I mean? He didn't, but he could. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was on radio stations. He was basically, they did what he said. Like, I didn't even understand none of that. Like, I didn't want to understand none of that. And I didn't, I just wanted to be ignorant. And if I couldn't get my way, I'm like a lot of people that's got hurt in them or just don't know nothing. Like, you'll start cussing, and cussing don't work. You'll start cussing loud, and if it's like loud cussing, you start spitting, and if that don't work, you start swinging. I mean, you just dumb and ignorant, right? But you hopefully you learn by hook or crook. You know what I'm saying? You still allowed to actually experience communicate in a different way,
Right.
and understanding what your blessings are there. You need to accept them.
Facts. Is that, I mean, you're talking about you were just lashing out emotionally. You know what I mean? It's commonplace. Unfortunately, it's very commonplace in Baltimore.
And of course, all my people was with me.
Right. And so,
They was right with me. Like they whatever I said, they agreed with it because they it was me saying it.
Mhm.
It was him getting it, and they were ignorant. And they agreed with it, and they didn't like him just for the sake of not liking him, or because I didn't, or just stupidities.
So in 2020, what is life like for the almighty Scottie B?
Check the check, right? I got grandkids, this old, 12 and 10, and whatever. And, just,
What kind of granddad is Scottie B?
I don't know. I wasn't.
You way too hip to be like, you got the head to the side, like you know probably more music than I know. Like,
I be trying to be an example, like in the moment, like even to like I wasn't even a great dad for a long time, right? And at some point I got it, and because my dad was at his age was Islam. He was a good dad for what he had. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't a good dad, and I had some things that I could have that contributed. And at some point, those things met. And, the damage had already been done. And you got to acknowledge that and don't let it hold you back, though. And for a while, you probably will. But eventually, you got to say, look, because people, especially kids, they will use it. You know what I mean? And they should. I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't, but they got the right to at least express it at least once. You know what I'm saying? Like, eventually they'll use it 100 times. But look, I already said, I understand I was wrong, but that stuff don't hurt me no more because I've been on the road already being better with it. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that. So please allow me to let me grow. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have been mad about something. You know what I mean? And, it's been a lot of years of that now. And so I think it's like a difference between forgiving and forgetting. You don't ever forget, but you do forgive. As a forgive, really help yourself, too. As you can help me help you too, and if you kind of forget, I know it's hard, you know what I'm saying, but just help me push this along too, and it'll help you. And just trying to, I have a good, really good relationship with all my kids now. I mean, it goes back and forth. They adults. I mean, so I don't agree with their choices all the time, but you gotta live and learn, and just hope that none of them choices don't carry you with it. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
But saying all say whatever, right? I've always just when you get to a certain point, you just don't be wild all your life, even if it's when you're 40 or 50 or whatever. Do I agree with the police do to me or whoever's? No, but I won't disrespect the police in front of my kids because I don't want them doing it because it
Right.
really ain't gonna help you.
Right.
You know, you can get mad and let that. You know what? Let that be an extra thing you might end up doing by accident, but don't let it be the regular way you act because that you ain't gonna win.
Right.
Period.
Fact.
If you get mad after 5 minutes of talking to a cop because you getting a ticket, that's regular. Don't start off when you roll that motherfucking window down, hooting and hollering, like calling them bitches and all that from the jump because you're going to end up in jail.
Right.
So I just try to, now, I done did a lot of stuff outside of their view like that, but when they round, even to this day, I'm like, that's not what we doing. No, we not doing that.
Right.
No, because then your kid's going to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you got to understand that your decisions and the stuff you do. I always said, you know what I always said? I said, you know what? Scottie B wasn't good for my kids. Even when I wasn't a good dad, if I was taking them somewhere for once or twice or whatever, and somebody would come up and say something and say, don't you know your dad is? And I let them have their little fun with that talking about the other person, but of course, at first I thought it was fun and it was great, but after a while, I noticed that the same things that they were saying was kind of some of the things that were I was making the intentional decision to put in front of them with. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And you can give up some. You know what I mean? You ain't got to do 100 parties. You can do 90. You know what I
Right.
mean? You know, it's at some point that guess what? If them 10 parties gonna make somebody forget you wasn't good in the
Right.
first place. I mean, so that's something I try to tell DJs as well. I mean, if you miss one damn party, so
Ain't gonna change
if
nothing.
they forget you over one party, then you wasn't getting it anyway. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's a lot of different life lessons I've learned through this journey. You know what I'm saying?
Never thought about that. That thought. Like once again, we're talking about the DJ mentality and the DJ culture. Like this fraternity is like, yo, you gotta stay doing
at 20,
X amount of
you ain't
shows.
that's not gonna sink in at 20. I guarantee you. Won't do it.
So like you, can I confidently say you play more of a mentorship role now? Like, are you open and willing to mentor
absolutely.
young
I already
DJs?
do. I got a couple of dudes that I deal with. You know what I mean? I do parties with, and they do parties with me, and then I try to put them in certain places I think they work. But they are, look, it ain't like I need to tell them, look, Channel 1, the favorite.
Yeah,
no, these dudes are right, and they nice.
Right.
But there's other things that I know when I say it, they not, look, it ain't no different than a father or a big brother, anything. You going to say it, and they not going to listen, right? But you want them to, when they kick them in their ass, be like, oh, he did say that 5 years ago.
It'll sink in. You know, I think parents always feel like your children are not listening. No, we're listening. We may not be comprehending.
You want them to hear it.
You want
so
you want people to understand
it's
it
in
and
there.
implement it in the moment.
So because you learn from losing, you don't
Right.
learn from it. So when the thing happened that it's related to, oh, they said that too, and they start laughing. They're like, you know what, my father told me that a long time ago. I should listen to that shit.
I got 1,000 lessons that pop
Oh
in
my
my head with my
gosh.
dad. Like, you know, at 40, I still hear his voice. Well, I mean, yeah, I work with him, so we kind of talk. But, I mean, there's still life lessons that come through over time. And not even just him, aunts, uncles, family, you know what I mean? Because I've always been very open to the elders around me, even homeless niggas, because I'd be like, how can I avoid your life? And
I've been that before.
you know what I mean?
I was homeless.
Right, and homeless niggas ought to be the first ones to tell you, look, you don't want to do this because that's how I got here. And I'd be like, thank you.
You know what's something that I don't say and I don't like to, and you see a dude, right? He probably like one of them dudes is in the street or something, and it's a younger kid. They kind of looking up to him or something, and that dude will say something like, "Boy, you don't want to be me." Wrong thing to say. Wrong thing to say to a young person, right? Because it's obvious, right? But all you doing is having that kid that at that moment really looks up to you because you got the slick stuff on and you might be driving a slick car, whatever it is. Why not? You know what I'm saying? Because whatever you saying was the bad part, damn sure ain't shining right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a fact.
Because he ain't telling you all that, right?
Right.
And the thing is, when that kid look up to him, the last thing he really gonna take out of that is, yup. They like, hell no. You know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't I? You the
Right.
coolest thing walking, because they don't understand nothing at that point. That's why I'm like, man, don't say that. Don't say you don't want to be me. Really talk about to that kid exactly what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Just really put the focus on him, and don't say you. Because first of all, it's putting the focus on you, and most of them people that's like that is selfish and in them kind of mentalities that they do want to shine, even from a 12-year-old to be on him.
Right.
But that's why they saying it, so he can look double. But don't say that stuff to no little kids. Talk directly about what they doing.
Right.
Don't say you don't want to be me, because they just going to be twice as much want to be you because you cool to them.
Right.
Nah, that's not. That's a bad one.
I'm on. The only thing I could do is offer my experiences, and I tell people, like, if you want to listen, that's cool. If not, I ain't tripping. You know what I mean? So, all right. So, Scottie B, what do we got a new album? Can we get a Scottie B album maybe?
We got music. I know a lot of people say intimate. Of course, this dumb stuff. I think we're gonna be able to take advantage of this Corona stuff because people will be home,
Right.
and the transmission of music is home. You know what I'm saying? And personal. So we got a lot, but we was already working on stuff. So we got some stuff in a pipeline, and it's in that bringing it together phase, and a lot of it, music now, especially music we do is visual, and with dancing and stuff. So I don't know if anybody know TSU Terry. So we signed him, and I know it looks funny that we signed him because people don't think about music and signing a dancer. Like when we signed him, we put it on Instagram, people was congratulating me.
Right.
Like they think I signed because I'm a music person to him.
Right.
Even though it's
different.
It says that we signed him, and unruly, they just congratulate me like I signed, right? Because people just don't understand it, right? They can't grasp it. But we signed him, and we're going to be doing some music, and some of the stuff is going to be geared toward him. So, like, so the visuals make sense to the song.
Gotcha.
Like, when they made, when K Camp made that Renegade song, that has nothing to dance. The word Renegade or the song have nothing to do with each other, right? But it do because people see it that way, but you wouldn't have came out the gate like, how does that dance have anything to do with that song, right? But so we gonna try to take it a step further because, of course, it's club music, so you're talking about dancing, and it's gonna work.
Okay, I think that's a dope idea. I think it's, once again, y'all being innovative, y'all taking a different turn and bringing something new to the marketplace. So like, I love it, man. I love it. Continue to do what y'all do. Am I missing any other major part of this story?
DJ Tamil had a lot to do with things. He's from New Jersey,
Right.
and he advocated club early outside of Baltimore. He's an unbelievable DJ, and it's so many people. The only thing about these things, everybody not on your tip of your tongue at the exact moment, but
That's a fact.
it's just a lot of people.
I feel like the more
You got records out?
Huh? I do.
Well,
I do.
What about you?
This is not about me, sir. This is about you.
It all is. It's all about all of
you.
us.
Oh no, it definitely
You part
is.
of the fraternity.
I am part of
The
a
fraternity.
world. I'm part of a world.
You part of the fraternity.
I'm an MC, so I put out MC music. I DJ for a very small period, but I never put out music DJing.
It's Baltimore music culture.
That is definitely it.
Could
That
you
is
really
definitely
talk about Baltimore music culture and say don't talk about Lab Tech One, even though we talking about club music? I mean, people
That's a
like
fact.
that. You know what I mean? Or Sparrow, Fly, Jamar. Jamar was a house music dancer. Jamar got a record, a hip hop record, because he raps on eBay for $800 every time it hits.
Wow.
So I mean, you can't talk about.
I mean, Scar bars and the different people that are legends in the city. Oh yeah. It is definitely my journey, even to talk about some of the greats that have passed away, the Scooters. Smash, which to me was one of the first. Oh my God! Like, you've so diverse.
I was with him
skill set.
that day. Now listen to this.
Wow.
Right? I was DJing International for a long time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He used to come in there every Wednesday. He comes in there. It's the end of the night. He said, yo, my dudes left about an hour ago. Can you drop me off? I said, yeah, wait till I'm finished, getting money. But he said, cool. I take him up Lexington Street, right? We sitting in the car for about 2 hours. Just talking about BS.
Yo, that's how he was.
Yo, not even, we ain't talking about,
We ain't talking about nothing.
I should change it.
Yeah,
we ain't talking about BS. We talking about music. We talking about whatever. Girls who was in the club, this one, that, and whatever. He said, yo, it's getting late. It's 4 o'clock. He said, I'm going to go in. I said, all right. 4 o'clock. That same day, at PM, it was AM. At PM, he was dead. Same day.
Loss. I feel like the city is, I mean, people in the city know it's a major loss, but I don't know, if you haven't met him and spent time with him, you don't understand how much of a good person he was.
You know what he don't know?
What?
He don't know, and this is another thing, that Scooter say that was his biggest influence. He don't know that.
Wow.
I mean.
See, I never got a chance to interview Scooter,
No,
man,
you got to give flowers to people while they live.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I 1,000% agree with that. G-Rock, you know what I'm saying? Who else is some of the greats,
The dude
man?
that's my MC now when I DJ, that's his nephew.
Get out of here. Wow. God bless him, bro. Like, it's so many great people that come from our city. And once again, I feel like it's somebody need to take the time to go, all right, I need to get these stories out here. Because we need that. I never knew that story. So, like, yo, you even telling me that about Smash. Like, that's so deep and it's so important. So, like, yo, thank you, sir. I definitely appreciate. We're going to have to do a part 2 to this. You
You want to hear old people talk, don't you?
No, I like to hear the history, bro. I like to hear the history.
I
like to hear the history.
Old
like,
birds talk.
You know why? It gives me so much pride versus hearing about murder all day long. To me, nothing makes me feel more prideful than people that came up in the same city, the same streets, ate the same chicken boxes, the same crabs, but ended up getting off their ass and doing great things that have changed the world, like, in big ways. So it means a lot to me for that. Like, you know what I mean? Because once again, when young people come to me and say, well, nobody ever come out of this city and do nothing, be like, nah, bro, watch these. Look at how these guys got up off their butt and made it happen.
Did you ever hear the story about disco skating LL Cool J?
Go ahead, shoot it.
Everybody that's my age and older going to know the story. Look, so, disco skate was this thing, the theater right here across from the supermarket. It was twice. It was a disco skate, then it became a cosmetology, then it went back to disco skate. In between rhythm skate, the same owner had rhythm skate. You know what was the pastor just went to Atlanta?
Bryant.
Jamal Bryant, that church, that was rhythm skate.
Wow.
Run DMC performed that first time in Baltimore. I was there. Salt and Pepper, same thing, right? But it was disco skate. Then they took he lost the disco skate. He went up to rhythm. He went up to there, and that used to be a thing for tennis. And he made a rhythm skate, and then he closed it and went back to disco skate.
Mm-hmm.
So the second time was disco skate. LL Cool J was performing that, right? First time in Baltimore, I think. My homeboy, he's a good guy, right? Now, he got shot in the butt up there, right? He'll tell you. Everybody knows the story. It's my guy, Greg. Everybody knows the story. Greg got shot in his ass, right? At disco skate, when LL Cool J came out, I swear to God, I don't know. I wasn't there, right? My wife now, she was there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people might have helped, but I swear to God, everybody alive swears they was in there that night. If you ask them, everybody they life, I think a rite of passage in Baltimore for that age was you said you was in there. You wasn't in there. It was two that wasn't that big. But I know it's a lot of people. But
right.
Yo, I swear everybody in Baltimore say they was in there that night. I know one person it was, Greg, because he got shot in his ass.
And everybody saw it.
Right.
Yo, that was a great story. All right. So that's it. Wait till the part 2 of this comes along. I've got to do a whole different documentary just on club music. So I'm gonna be able to make a list of all the DJs you can comment on everything or whatever I'm missing. But where can they follow you on social media?
Well, I'm over 40, so Facebook is always good, right?
Yes.
At Scott Rice, because I was Scottie B. They fooled me into, why don't you change that? And I did it, and next thing you know, I couldn't go back to Scottie B no more. They a motherfucker for that, right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
So I that, and then on Instagram it's Scottie B01 or DJ Scottie B01, one of them. And Twitter is this. No. wait. Scott, no. On IG is Scottie B more.
Right.
That's it. And I think. And then on Twitter, y'all figure it out. It's one.
Just Google Scottie B. It'll come up. Don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yep.
At VVC Life. Subscribe to my Instagram at JS1 Tha Supplier, at Aries Lounge, and at VVC Radio. And I know that's a lot of ads. Oh, don't forget to check out all of the other great episodes, man. Like everything that connects to Scottie B and all of the other ones from the 100 Grand Mans to Pork Chop. Shout out to everybody that have taken the time to contribute. The Mighty Marks. Oh my God, Mighty Marks joined us. Definitely linked in with him because they doing business together. He didn't tell me, but I know. Because I know stuff. So y'all keep it up. We'll check y'all for the next one. Aries Lounge 101 Conversations. We out of here. Peace.